carta en tu buzón. Una noche de locura camino a la perdición. Son motivos suficientes para que suene el saxofón, deslizando sobre llantos que disipan tu ilusión. Un compás y su patrón, un juglar y su canción. Una rata callejera que se viste de león. Las mentiras son balazos que se cargan con traición. La traición es el fracaso del humano sin razón. Se rompen las promesas que mancharon tu pincel. Te quedaste sin amor, sin princesa y sin corcel. La verdad es que ya sin esto ya bajaste tu nivel, porque no todos los hombres conocieron a su Rapunzel. Pensaste que la ira se mezclaba con el bien. Perdiste los papeles pero sin saber con quién. Aléjate, disípate y vuela de nuevo otra vez. Tu calma debe ser tu mayor gran placer. Broken promises, broken promises. Oh Lord, broken promises. Check it one, broken promises. Call my bones a sexy killer. Rail my body a shaker, fuck the killer. Ganja not a problem, it's mozzarella. Running to the gate of fire, similar. Ganja not a problem on the city, Badaland. Sense you on a rhythm to the fucking Rasta man. Live this opportunity to say the general. On the really theme, pure nigga Selassie I. Fire burning, what they call them. Call me something burning the system. Oh no problem, oh no flip on them. No ganja, no money. Fire burning, what they call them. Call me something burning the system. Oh no problem, oh no flip on them. No ganja, no money. Broken promises. Broken promises, broken promises, motherfucking flow, the honest studio production. Oh. Ribby-dibby-dim, cut away your sound. Pure nigga on the microphone. From my alley, Maki on the studio, my Omar Candy on the camera boy. Hey, Famba Class. Hey, freedom, yeah, Rastaman even searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light, feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Freedom, the Rastaman even searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light, feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Ganja not a problem, man, a city, Badaland. Sense on a rhythm to the fucking Rastaman. Live his opportunity to say the general. On the really theme, pure nigga Selassie I. Fire burning, what they call them. Call me something burning this system. Oh no problem, oh no flip on them. No ganja, no money. Call my bones a sexy killer. Real my body a shaker, fuck the killer. Ganja not a problem, it's mozzarella. Running to the gate of fire, sense mela. Oh lady, my thinking sound. Free pon the herb of the gun Solomon. The free Babylon, the sick in the sound. You nigga the herb of the free meditation. Freedom, the rest of my even searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light, feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Freedom, the Rastaman even searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light, feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Oh my mother, my thinking mother, they can just smoke and no is my coda. Sense Miller from Kione Studio Revolution Ganja. Hey. Fire burning, what they call them. Call me something burning this system. Oh no problem, oh no flip on them. No ganja, no money. Siento que te pierdo, ya no tengo solución. Vives en mi letra, mueres en mi corazón. Tengo tu veneno reservado en mi cajón. Él será la tinta que utilice en mi canción. El perfume de tu piel, su belleza con sabor, la canela de tu pelo y su reflejo con color. La sonrisa mañanera que aliviaba mi dolor. Se fue con la princesa hacia un lugar peor. Observo cómo sufres y no siento compasión. Canto lo que vives y le pongo la ilusión. Esa que olvidaste, malgastaste la razón. Siento que te pierdo y ya no tengo otra opción. Que tire bam, 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 bam. Smoking to the herb on the fucking Solomon. Ay, pure nigga represent from Carvalho City. Alright, ay. Freedom, ya rasta mal even. Searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light. Feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Freedom, ya rasta mal even. Searching the darkness, fighting the evil. Don't stop the light. Feeling love every day from the Rastafari. Respect from the fucking time. Yeah. Oh my God.
Slavery has existed in many different forms throughout history. The reduction of another human being to the status of property used for labor at the command of another has been a feature of almost every society on Earth until the 19th century or so. No system of slavery has attracted more attention than the transatlantic slave trade, established by Europeans to provide slave labor for their American colonies. Around 12 million souls were taken from Africa and forced onto perilous journeys across the Atlantic, where they and their descendants were condemned to a life of servitude. However, retellings of the horrors of Atlantic slavery too often turn into stories of how Europeans alone determined the course of that history. In reality, Africans were not just passive victims. Millions of them were slaves, but many others profited from, produced, and protected that slave trade. In this video, we look at the untold story of the African slave trade. Stick around until the end to learn how some of Africa's greatest kingdoms were built on the profits of slavery, and how Africans fought tooth and nail to protect it from the abolitionist European empires. Slavery has existed in Africa for as long as recorded history. Ancient Egypt had slaves toiling away in its fields and on its monuments. Ancient Carthage trafficked in slaves across the Mediterranean, and the Ethiopian kings of Aksum wrote proudly of the slaves they took in war. Slaves were also exported from Africa for centuries before Europeans arrived. The trans-Saharan slave trade lasted for over 1,000 years and dragged about 10 million people across the desert to be slaves in the Islamic world. The Indian Ocean also had a similarly long-lasting ocean-going slave trade, with about 5 million ending up in slave ships, bound and branded for use in foreign lands. These slaves ended up as laborers, domestic servants, soldiers, or more. Male slaves in the Islamic world were typically castrated, which meant that new slaves had to be regularly imported to maintain the population. For this video, we'll focus on Western Africa, where the Atlantic slave trade was centered. West Africa was removed from the Indian Ocean trade and mostly secure from Islamic slave raids, but slavery was still a feature of life there long before the Atlantic slave trade began. A succession of powerful empires occupied the region, which all rested on complex slave systems. The Ghanaian Empire from the 3rd to the 13th century began a tradition of powerful West African imperial states, and built much of its wealth through trans-Saharan trading of slaves or goods acquired through slave labor. The salt, copper, and gold that made the Mali Empire and Mansa Musa fabulously wealthy were all extracted with slave labor. Domestic slavery was also common, and Mali was known to import female slaves from the Mediterranean to act as domestic servants in the households of the elites. Most of the slaves were acquired through conquest of neighboring kingdoms, or tribal groups who were too weak to defend themselves from the organized imperial militaries. Successor empires like the Songhay, Jolof, and Kabu inherited the social and economic structures of slavery and continued to acquire slaves as they scrambled to establish their own territories.
Have you tried Wix or Squarespace but never finished your website? You're not alone. With these website builders, 80% of business owners never finish their website, and you end up paying a high monthly fee for a website you never use. But you don't have to do that. There's a better way, and it's with you and I. With you and I, we build you a fully functional website in 7 days.
Elites in these empires used slaves as a status symbol, and ownership of slaves came to represent someone's wealth and power. Slavery took many different forms in West Africa. Some worked the land or the mines, others served as soldiers or even political advisors. In some places, slaves were permitted to own land that they cultivated in their free time, and might earn enough from this land to buy their own freedom. In other places, the lot of slaves was more miserable. In Benin, for example, slaves were regularly sacrificed to mark important occasions like the anniversary of a king's death. All of this is to say that when Europeans arrived, they did not find an empty land of scattered peoples ripe for enslavement, but complex societies and slave-holding empires whose roots were even older than those of the Europeans themselves. The Atlantic slave trade was started by the Portuguese in the mid-15th century. Originally, slaves were taken to Europe, but this changed in 1526, when the first Portuguese ships carried slaves across the Atlantic to their new American colonies. However, the vision of Europeans landing on an African shore, frightening a tribe of natives into submission, and dragging them in chains to their ship is not representative of what happened for most slaves. Some slaves were indeed taken in European slave raids, but the vast majority were sold to the Europeans by other Africans. The European arrival in West Africa came at the same time as the collapse of the Mali Empire. Various splinter states scrambled over each other to seize territory for themselves. The Europeans with their firearms offered these competing rulers a potential advantage over their enemies. In turn, the huge amounts of captives that these kingdoms acquired in their wars were useful currency to trade with the Europeans. Additionally, the other goods like cloth and ceramics that the Europeans brought were status symbols that the new African elite could use to showcase their wealth and power. Different peoples responded in different ways to the opportunities of European slave trading. The Kingdom of Congo made contact with Portuguese explorers in 1483 and traded thousands of slaves every year. The slaving relationship between the two powers was sophisticated and mutually beneficial. For example, Congolese King Alfonso I saw the Portuguese as a useful outlet for the excess slaves he acquired during his expansionary wars, and he was an eager participant in slave trading. However, he also asserted his own power over it in 1526 by forcing Portugal to submit to his legal framework for slavery, which governed how exactly someone might be enslaved and provided protections for those who were not legitimately enslaved, mostly his own subjects taken by criminal raiders or opportunists. A similar enthusiasm was seen among the various Akan peoples of modern Nigeria. They occupied an area known as the Gold Coast and were similarly prolific as both sellers and purchasers of slave labor. The gold mines that made the Akan so wealthy in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries were filled by slaves they purchased from both African and European merchants. As many as a third of the population of the various Akan states were enslaved people. In almost every case, these slaves were from non-Akan ethnic groups. Any sense of African solidarity in the face of European slave trading was almost non-existent. The ethnic divides that split Africa were far older than European contact and would not be quickly changed by the arrival of foreigners on their shores. There was, of course, resistance. Many European slave ships were attacked by coastal raiders, but these reactions were rare and relatively ineffective. Most of the time, these were small-scale attacks by small tribes, or villages near where the Europeans dropped anchor. It was these tiny, disconnected groups who were most vulnerable to slavery, and their shows of defiance rarely saved them in the end. One state that did turn against European slaving was the Kingdom of Benin. The Kingdom of Benin was not the Benin we know today, but a small territory in modern-day Nigeria. Initially a partner in slave trading, by the mid-16th century, the kingdom was facing a serious drain on population, especially among its men. Two rulers, Oba Esigie and Oba Orhobuga, are credited with ending Benin's participation in Atlantic slave trading and closed Benin's ports to European traders. Slavery was not abolished in the country. In fact, the Kingdom of Benin would fight to uphold domestic slavery against Britain in the late 19th century. But this kingdom shows that Africans responded in many different ways to slavery. Each kingdom and ethnic group assessed their own situations and reacted accordingly, whether that was to sell slaves or prohibit it as they saw fit. Of all the slaving states of Africa, none is more infamous than Dahomey. First emerging around 1600 along the southern coast of modern-day Nigeria, Dahomey soared to prominence under the warrior king Agaja in the early 18th century. Dahomey's ace in the hole was a well-trained and well-organized standing army, perhaps as large as 50,000 men or more at its height, which Agaja used to conquer the kingdoms of Alada and Ouida in the 1720s. Alada and Ouida were prolific slave trading kingdoms, with tens of thousands of slaves passing through their ports. Dahomey's consolidated control of so many slave ports made it one of the most formidable slaving powers in history. The colossal army pushed Dahomey towards slavery for two additional reasons. Firstly, its military culture discouraged men from non-military careers, meaning that slaves were needed to carry out other jobs like agriculture. Secondly, a standing army had to be kept occupied or else it might grow restless and rebel. So Dahomey was constantly attacking other neighboring powers or sending out slave raids to bring back captives. The result was a colossal slave population. According to some estimates, by the 19th century, 2/3 of the kingdom's population were enslaved people. Slavery was so endemic to Dahomeyan society that one scholar remarked it's difficult to determine whether Dahomey was a slaving gang turned into a state or a state that existed purely for the sake of slaving. Slaves weren't just laborers and domestic servants in Dahomey, but became woven into the political fabric of the society. Ownership of slaves became a status symbol for Dahomeyan elites, as it did for others in West Africa. This led to tension between the king and the elites who fought for control over the slave trade. Although it is often characterized as a royal monopoly, even the absolute power of the monarch was not enough to rein in elites who established power bases of their own thanks to their trading of slaves. Slaves also became a part of Dahomeyan religion. The annual customs of Dahomey were a day of rituals and public celebration involving military parades, political debates, and human sacrifice of slaves to appease the spirits and protect the kingdom for another year. Hundreds of slaves were killed, usually with decapitation, and in some years as many as 4,000 people were sacrificed on a single day. A similar display of mass sacrifice was required for the funeral of a king, and might occur on a smaller scale for any number of other rituals or social events. Dahomey remained committed to slavery even as the European powers began their crusade against it. In 1818, King Gezo was forced to make concessions to the British, including the abolition of slave sacrifices, and by the 1840s, Gezo was being pressured to end the slave trade altogether, but he refused. "The slave trade is the ruling principle of my people," Gezo told the British. It is the source and glory of their wealth. The mother lulls the child to sleep with notes of triumph over an enemy reduced to slavery. When the British managed to force a treaty on Gezo that ended slave trading from Dahomey.
If you've been injured in a car accident, don't call an attorney. Use this AI app instead. That's what I did, and it's how I got this $100,000 check in less than 30 seconds. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, if you've been
Dahome's ports, it was a source of bitter resentment. The Dahomeans subverted it by selling slaves overland to be sold through ports not bound by the treaty's terms. Eventually, the resentment caused a total breakdown of relations, and Dahomey abandoned the treaty entirely by the late 1850s. They pivoted towards an alliance with France in their anti-slavery attitudes, but the collapse of the slave trade would soon bring down the kingdom. As the kingdom's main source of wealth failed, it was forced into desperate raiding and conquest that antagonized the French. After attacking a French allied town in 1889, France waged 2 wars against Dahomey, citing its penchant for slavery as a legitimizing moral cause, and toppled the kingdom in 1894. A common misconception about European imperialism in Africa is that colonization and slavery always worked hand in hand. The Europeans set down their claims in Africa to furnish their endless desire for slaves. This was true at certain times. Portugal's colonies, such as those in Angola, were an important source of slaves. By the late 1700s, Portugal's thirst for able-bodied male slaves to work their American plantations meant that Angolan women outnumbered men in their homeland by at least 2 to 1. However, the vast majority of European colonization in Africa occurred after the abolition of slavery. It would be more accurate to say that anti-slavery motivated European colonization. We have already seen how France conquered Dahomey in part to end its slave trading. A similarly hard line against slavery was taken by the British. For example, in 1851, the Royal Navy lay siege to the Nigerian city of Lagos and its king Costco because the king refused to end the slave trade. After a furious naval bombardment, the British compelled Lagos to abolish the trade, forcibly freed every slave in Lagos's territory, and expelled all slave traders from their land. The British later imposed abolition on all of Nigeria. Some historians have noted that while Britain was quick to abolish trading, domestic slavery took a lot longer to root out in Nigeria. The British were concerned that moving too quickly to end slavery there would provoke unrest and resistance from the Nigerians themselves. Abolitionism was similarly evident in the British conquest of Benin in 1897. After the massacre of a British merchant expedition in January of that year, the British launched a punitive military strike against Benin City. Slavery was once again among the justifying causes of the attack and subsequent colonization of the kingdom. According to eyewitness accounts, the king of Benin sacrificed hundreds of slaves in hopes of acquiring divine protections against the approaching British. The British repopulated the decimated city with freed slaves and offered total emancipation and resettlement to any slave who escaped to their territory. Benin's elites were slow to embrace the change, and British authorities were still trying to stamp out native slavery there into the 1920s. That is not to say that there weren't African abolitionists. There certainly were, not least of all the slaves themselves. But there were many in Africa willing to fight and die to uphold the ancient institution.
You guys heard it yourselves. We're going to go through a series of videos. You can actually understand the history between us and them, okay? Now, let's remind ourselves into the experience that we actually went through here before we move back into the whole point of Africans are not Hebrews. Let's continue. You guys keep asking for it. Well, guess what, man? Especially when I see my gente still dealing with this issue on TikTok, bro. It's like, dude, they still think that they're from here. And they still think they're Hebrews, and they still think everybody came out of them. Well, you're tripping. Let's go.
One of the most common dreams, boiled down to the basics, is of being chased. Being pursued and unable to escape, no matter how hard you tried, no matter how strong, how brave, or who you were. The ice that slides down the stomach, the goosebumps raised on every inch of skin, the panting breath and pounding of blood in ears, the fear of the prey for the predator, so ingrained in us that thousands of years after we became the most dangerous creature on the planet, we still fear the wolves in the night, the terror of being run down, of being savaged and mauled by some dark, deadly creature of fangs and fur is prevalent and pervasive. Wolves, fortunately, hardly live up to the dark dreams that fright conjures during sleep, and when nature couldn't match our nightmares, we gave it a little help. The conquest of the New World was a time that saw many dark moments amid the great discoveries and exploration. Arguably, moments of discovery and exploration amid the overwhelming chaos and tragedy that were the two sides of the coin at the beginning of the colonial era. The Spanish were the first to fund and send a full expedition that successfully landed in islands off the Americas. They set off the colonial period and were responsible for their fair share of both sides of exploration and woe. A way of war among the Spanish during this time calls back to the nightmare and inventiveness we mentioned earlier. Breeds of dog, born and trained for war, were a weapon in the Spanish arsenal as sure as their muskets and cannon. For more looks back into time and history, check out our other videos and like and subscribe to A Day in History. Dogs have been mankind's friend and protector since their domestication tens of thousands of years ago, used to guard our livestock, homes, and ourselves from beyond the times of even legends. The domestication of dogs let humans shape the species to better fit our needs, for better or worse. From herder to food source, transportation to tools of war, dogs were one of the most helpful animals ever to stand by our side. Dogs fighting alongside humans in war are recorded as far back in time as 600 BCE in accounts of the king of Lydia battling the Cimmerians. 2 centuries later, Xerxes of Persia used dogs in his invasion of Greece. Celtic warriors went into battle alongside one of the oldest known dog breeds, the English Mastiff. Together, the Celts and Mastiffs fought the Romans in 55 BCE. Dogs were no stranger to war, and the Spanish developed tactics using dogs to great effect. The colonial period had many highs and lows. Spain was among the main players in the colonization of the West and collected its share of the riches there for the taking. Queen Isabella of Castile, co-ruler of Spain with King Ferdinand II of Aragon, funded the expedition of Christopher Columbus, which landed on an island in the Bahamas in 1492. From the first, the exploration of the New World was motivated by the desire for gold, glory, and God. The Spanish brought with them the tools of war, among them dogs trained to be vicious in battle. War dogs, known in Europe for hundreds of years, and bred to maximize their usefulness. One famous breed, the Greyhound, was said to have been bred for quick strikes in battle. The most fearful dog the Spanish used was the Spanish Mastiff. With a weight up to 250 pounds and standing 3 feet tall, these dogs were terrors on the fields of war. Starting with Columbus's second visit to the Americas, history records the use of war dogs against the native population with what would become typical ferocity. The 20 dogs that Columbus brought with him took the field with a couple hundred conquistadors against thousands of natives. The black powder weapons, a score of mounted troops, and the war dogs won an overwhelming victory. The successful battle had much to do with the war dogs and the terror they inspired. The natives had never encountered dogs like those the Spanish brought with them. The dogs native to the area were all small and used either as food or pets. The comparatively huge animals from Spain would have been adorned with spiked collars and padded jackets. The greyhounds, longer and leaner, would have been used to quickly attack and hamstring victims. The more bulky, stockier Spanish mastiffs had jaws strong enough to crush bones. After the battle, Columbus wrote in his journal that each dog was worth 10 soldiers. The dogs were sometimes starved for days before battle, and accounts say they were fed flesh from natives to acclimatize the dogs to human meat. The trainers of the dogs would go to horrific lengths to make sure the animals could differentiate between the Spanish and their enemies.
There's a famous book called Dogs of Conquest. Dogs of Conquest. I was lucky enough to actually get the book by John Greer Van something. It's actually not priced bad at all right now, family. You know, it's 177, but there was times where this actual book could be priced at, you know, a good $400. Like right now at Abe's Books, it's $428. 428 to 175. This book has reached about $1,000 at value. So it's not a joke. It's a sincere book. It's called Dogs of Conquest by John Greer Varner. Anyhow, so I would suggest to read it. It's very thorough, very detailed into how they use these dogs of war, and they fed our gente. Specifically, they were feeding our children to them. They love the tender bones and, like, you know, the joints and stuff like that. It was horrible, man. This is some horrible shit. Keep in mind, these are not just white conquistadors. We're talking about black and white conquistadors, okay? So we're not losing neither one of them. Now, I'm going to say this to y'all. I never actually said it, but we can also say the Ashkenazi conquistador financiers, because even though they weren't technically putting the actual plow at work, they were putting the money, making sure that these gringos and these Africans will do the work for them. Trust me, family. They've been the puppeteer, I guess you could say, playing games with these two idiots. Let's continue to learn and find out who they are according to the scriptures. Let's go.
The Spaniards would sometimes hold hunts, hellish hunts, or La Monteria Infernal in Spanish, where the dogs would hunt down native people. It was said that some groups of the native people would surrender when they knew the conquistadors brought the fearsome dogs with them. A legend among the Spanish was of the mastiff called Becerrilo, translated often as Little Bull. This dog was said to have been savage in war, loyal in friendship, and even merciful in peace. Scarred from many battles, Becerrilo fought again and again for the Spanish. According to the tales, in one battle, Becerrilo alerted the camp to enemies sneaking close and then killed 30 combatants himself. His trainers and masters loved him and treated him like a great soldier of war. There is another story of a native woman who begged for mercy when Becerrilo was released to attack her, and the dog sniffed her and then let her go once it was clear she was no threat. It was said that when Becerrilo fell in battle, the Spanish hid the fact so as not to let the enemy benefit from an increase in morale. We advise taking some salt along with these stories, but it appears to be recorded fact that the dog named Becerrilo did exist in 1511, and
oh, definitely, family. He is in the book. They specifically talked about this dog. They even honored him to a high level. This guy, this so-called animal, dog soldier, killed hundreds of our gente. The first thing they would do is they would go into the guts and the private parts, because it's the most soft areas: your stomach, your neck, and your privates. They would go after that. They'd rip that first. You'd bleed to death, and then they'd actually eat your intestines. It's no joke, fam. Now, listen. This is the weird part. How come they never talk about this? Why don't they make movies about this? No, we get a bunch of Holocaust every 2 years and slavery every 2 years, right? But the hell with your history. Let's continue.
even is known to have sired a son, Leonchilo, who also fought during this time. These types of dogs were often treasured and treated just as well as soldiers. Some dogs were even paid a salary. As fearsome as the dogs were, time would reveal them to be minor players in the story of the conquest of the Americas. Unknown to the Spanish, the most devastating weapons they wielded were the diseases they carried with them. Estimates of the pre-colonial population of the Americas vary widely, but most scientists accept numbers hovering around 50 million. The numbers could have been much higher, but with the information we currently have, it is impossible to determine. As much as 80% of the deaths brought about by the colonization could be attributed to disease and sickness. In the lands that would become Mexico, the population fell from more than 20 million at the beginning of the 16th century to less than 2 million at the end of the century. It's been argued that, purposeful or not, this tremendous loss of life constitutes one of the world's worst mass genocides. In the end, the conquest of America is one of the most defining moments in modern history, and the part played by the war dogs of Spain was terrifying in execution, if not in scale. The horrors these dogs were trained to do are beyond anything we would find acceptable today. Fortunately, the days of war dogs and La Monteria Infernal are long past us, and we can love and appreciate our dogs as pets and companions. So, cuddle your puppy and remember, there are worse things they could be doing than peeing on the carpet.
That was actually funny, huh? All right, let's continue with this here real quick. I'm gonna refresh something that had happened last year. I think it's important for you guys to understand, and I find it very interesting because how easy it's so how easy is it being ignored now? And now we're at this position. Now we're okay. So we got questions, lots more now. Oh, but no. We're past that. Apparently, we're past that now. You can't go in some camp and tell them, hey, what about this? What about that? No. Listen, that doesn't matter anymore. They're on their show, they're on their boat, they're on their bus, and they're riding it. It doesn't matter what you say. So your job is to find out what's going on with you and your people. Because if you don't know who you are, you won't know where you need to go. Let's go. All right, let me go ahead and get started. Let me read this real quick. This is a disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer. It says this content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property or any of the material used today from MSNBC or any other network provider. It is their content. Okay, the content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles does not intend to make any use of the material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of the United States Copyright Law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. Copyright Law. I keep saying that I'm going to record this and I forget. All right, so anyhow, I appreciate you, brother. So here's what I'm going to start with, man. I had to be, look, I wasn't, my goal was just to do one class in the afternoons because I realized that in the mornings, a lot of people are busy. But then all of a sudden, I was speaking to my wife, and then we got a feed, and then it reminded me, and we got to nip this in the butt, man, because now it's like all of a sudden Kanye West, and then that basketball player Irving. Oh, wow. Now you got all these so-called Hebrew Israelites, but the majority of them are converts. Now they're making a big deal about these wicked men. You think they got to that point by being righteous? On top of that, we've proven it left and right. Let's continue with this, man, because this is all I see. Now, if the YouTube wants to block me on this, I'm gonna move it over. Okay, but I just want to show you this is the propaganda that we keep hearing over and over and over and over and over. Listen, guys, the so-called Hispanics and Native Indians that suffered the pillaging, destruction, rape, murder, stolen lands, all of that happened to us. Do I ever hear of anybody saying anything regarding that? No, it is just completely ignored. Completely ignored. And then we hear movies like this, and it's like really the hypocrisy, man. Sincerely. So let's go. Again, if they try to stop me, I'm gonna move it over.
I understand you think you are defending the plight of the black man, or I guess in your case, the black woman. But we are doing a disservice to the argument, much less your people, by conflating race with basic common sense.
I would say this. The disenfranchisement of black people in America is by design written into the actual DNA of this country. Your argument, however flawed, has been successfully promoted and propagated through repetition. We hear it over and over again. But I'm here to tell you that this vicious cycle of inequity will soon be broken.
Let me remind you that this is a movie, obviously, right? But it's really check out the scenario they got going on here. This woman is wealthy. If you see the movie, she has generational wealth. The nerve of her, as if suffering really applied to her. And if you watch the whole movie, like it literally has never applied to her. They have a very superioritic attitude, if that's such a word. I think I just made one up. But anyhow, that's one thing. Then we see this here. Doesn't stop.
The legacy of slavery and placing slavery at the center of the narrative. And that's what we did. It's not that we were hiding anything. I find the backlash in some ways unsurprising and in some ways surprising. For instance, with respect to Mr. Page, when one suggests that the 1619 Project is a project about Black victimization and not patriotism, it makes me wonder if Mr. Page even read the project, or if Mr. Page even read my essay, because my essay is about how Black people, despite undergoing chattel slavery, legal apartheid, lynching, racial terrorism, segregated schools, segregated housing, segregated military, believed fervently in the founding ideals and have fought generation after generation to make those ideals true. And in fact, had a faith in a country that didn't treat us as citizens and expanded democracy for all Americans. I don't think that's the and one that will probably be the most surprising to readers is the one by Harvard historian Taya Miles on settler colonialism, Indian removal, and how the 5 so-called civilized tribes also engaged in chattel slavery. I knew we needed to have an essay that dealt with Indian removal, but we had to find the right one. So, and one that will probably they had to find the right one, Okay, so all I see is, we suffered. Everybody's against us. We weren't considered, yet they considered every other nationality in this country. Okay, let's continue. We got more. And then this. And you know what the worst part is, brothers and sisters? That you got maybe even our own brethren. It's lost in the sauce, man. Straight up lost in the sauce. Guys, you guys really need to study geography. I'm gonna show y'all what I mean by that. Y'all need to really study geography. For the curses to apply, they have to make clear-cut sense. Clear-cut sense. That's why the title is called Africans Are Not Hebrews or Israelites. Let me say that again. The so-called black man that came with the so-called white man from Europe, okay? That's the truth about most of you black folks. You are not Hebrews. And I'm gonna remind you guys today, because this is ridiculous. Even our own people are pushing this stuff, man. Literally. It's like, yo, what? Our own gente, bro. They really fell for the sauce on this part. Watch.
Something that could have been avoided. No one said we had to practice racism. No one said we had to treat each other like garbage. No one said that I had to stand here today and understand that many people that come from generations 60 years ago, 40 years ago, enslaved some of my ancestors, still spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, and it's still going on. You guys are asking me respectfully to speak on something that was a documentary that I had nothing to do with. I didn't make it. So just please keep that same energy when you guys are addressing me.
Perry, for the record, do you have any anti-Semitic beliefs?
Again, I'm going to repeat. I don't know how the label becomes justified because you guys ask me the same questions over and over again. But this is not going to turn into a spin around cycle of questions upon questions. I told you guys how I felt. I respect all walks of life and embrace all walks of life. That's where I sit.
I think what people want to hear though is just
Yeah, it's very true. They do have a chart. I think Sister Lishiva, I think I sent you that chart too, right? I think you saw it. You know, they had all the British so-called troll tribes. It's funny, man. Let's go.
a yes or no on that question. Yes or no.
I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from.
All right. So let's go ahead and remind them. First of all, because here's the bottom line. All right. The black Hebrew Israelites, because that's what I'm going to call y'all, because the majority of the black Hebrew Israelites are converts. Okay. I'm going to make that very clear. The curses of Deuteronomy 28 were the main reason why y'all started preaching in the streets. Okay. That was the main reason. But then now, as you start looking and dissecting Deuteronomy 28, you realize that, hey, man, that don't apply to you guys at all. Only one verse. Verse 68. Well, let's just say that verse 68 was never there. What happens to the rest of the curses? Oh, you're right. You can't match them. And we're going to go through them because you know what? Here's the bottom line with us, okay? You so-called Hispanics and Native Indians of indigenous descent, okay? I'm not talking about you heathens that look like us and then, Lord willing, don't smell like us, but you probably do, wear the shirts, new old, all that. I'm not talking to you guys. You're not our gente. I know this for a fact, okay? I'm talking to our gente here, our people, okay? This is what happened in the curses. And I'm going to read Deuteronomy 28:49 so then you guys can actually see the map, and I'm going to show y'all. Because this did happen to us. And geographically, it makes perfect sense. Deuteronomy, and I know I read it often, but we got to read it, man, because apparently some people need some geographical education. Even more common sense, the so-called intellectual ones, the Sikaris, the IUICs, right? The GMSs, the IUCPKs. For some reason, they just, forget about the geographical aspect of the Bible. Deuteronomy 28:49, it says, the Lord shall bring a nation against you from far. Okay, so we know that the so-called natives, the so-called Hispanics, right? The people from these islands here, all this continent right here, we know that a nation from afar came. We know that they came from here. Spain, Portugal, France, Dutch, Germany, Hungary, Austria, Britain, Sweden, Norway. They all had a lot to do with the trafficking. Okay. So we know now geographically, it says the Lord shall bring a nation against you from far. The Most High is going to bring a nation against us from far, from the end of the earth. Geographically, that means it's here, one continent, the eastern continent, right? And then the western continent, right? That's pretty far, guys. Shoot, it's 3,000 miles between California to New York. That's another, what, 6,000 miles, maybe 1,000, 10, 12, 11,000 miles? That sounds pretty far to me. So far, we match the curses. The Lord shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. And we do understand that they came with the eagle and the sign, and they came as hungry as the eagle because they destroyed our people for the most part. And it wasn't because they were superior, just a simple fact because we fell off. We stopped listening to the Most High, to our Father. We said, nah, we want to do it our way. Okay, you want to fly the plane? I'm just going to sit back and let you fly the plane. And now the plane's crashing, and a lot of us are begging, please help us, Father. Because that's the reality, man. And it says, therefore, thou shalt serve thine... I'm sorry, no. The Lord shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation, let me just emphasize this, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. It says here in the Bible that you will not understand these people. Okay? So for us, we didn't understand them. And it's clear that it's the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a language we've never heard of. We also know, for us, Leviticus 26:22. I want to show y'all real quick. Okay? Leviticus 26:22. It says, and I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle. We lost our cattle. I know for a fact our native brothers up north, they lost their cattle, the buffaloes. Probably by the Buffalo Soldiers. That's another topic, which I showed in another class. I just find it coincidental. Same year, same time, same era. Wonder why. And destroy your cattle and make you few in numbers. So when did y'all become few in numbers? I'm curious, because we did. And your highway shall be desolate. I know that here in Tenochtitlan, there were paved streets. We got proof of it. So far, paved streets, the highways will be desolate. So far, we got the plagues, the curses, we got destroyed. Very little people left. They took our cattle, they took our children, and then they used dogs to eat our people. So far, I think so far, I think we hit the curses so far. I'm not trying to be funny. Listen, guys, look, this isn't, look, we always hear them say, this isn't hate. They always tell the white man, this isn't hate. This is real talk. This is truth. This is what they say. This is truth. So listen, bro, let me refer. Actually, I will say that because a portion of you guys is our gente. But see, you're so caught up in this whole colorism and woollyism, right? That you don't even realize that that's not the bottom line. But because you're not Hebrews, most of y'all don't understand that. That's the fact. Jax, get it together, man. I had to do this class because, listen, I'm fed up with, I even on my feed on Facebook, I've allowed people to okay, let's see what they're about. Let me see what they're about. And all of a sudden, man, I got a bunch of feed about, Kanye West. Do you see? We're the Hebrews now. Really, bro? While he's sleeping around with a bunch of heathen women, then all of a sudden now it matters? Why? And that reminds me of the scripture, which I wish I could remember it, but I don't remember it. About when the Messiah says, you let these rich guys sit in the front, like they make a big deal about it. Matthew something. So far, dogs ate our kids. Our cattle was destroyed. We were left few in numbers, and our highways were desolate. Okay? So far, so good. Now, this also happens even to this day. So this is curses that would be upon us for forever and ever until, right? Okay, let's continue.
Teamwork is just a value that I've always carried. I see that every day I go.
Become a versatile and in-demand asset in the workforce with the University of Florida's.
A devastating discovery has been made in Canada. The remains of 215 children have been found buried at the site of a former boarding school for Indigenous students. The school in British Columbia was part of a nationwide scheme that took in First Nations children in an effort to assimilate them into Canadian society. Investigations have shown there was widespread abuse. These latest findings are once again opening a wound that has yet to heal.
Row upon row of children's shoes, each pair marking a lost son or daughter. In Vancouver, people gathered to mourn the 215 children whose remains were found at a former Indigenous residential school, with ground-penetrating radar confirming the grim discovery.
It was shocking at every single level. And, right now, our community is grieving. We all had to take time to absorb, what we were told, what we've seen, and we're still grappling through the effects.
Founded in 1890, the Kamloops School was one of Canada's state-run Indigenous residential schools. After being forcibly separated from their parents, children were made to convert to Christianity and banned from speaking their native languages. Physical and sexual abuse by headmasters and teachers was common. A 2015 report found that over 3,200 children had died from maltreatment and neglect in what it called a cultural genocide. The Kamloops school closed in 1978, but rumours persisted that the deaths of many children had been covered up. Canada's politicians, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, said they were heartbroken by the news.
There's nothing more painful in life than losing a child. My heart breaks today thinking of all the loving parents who never saw their children return home.
The Tk'emlúps-te-Secwépemc Nation says it's working with the coroner and museums to try to shed light on the discovery and find records of.
But because you don't have woolly hair or are looking black, you're not a Hebrew. Remember that, guys. Okay? That's the agenda right now. Even though we are going through the curses to this very day. Oh, I forgot my woolly hair. I must have left it in my past generation because I mixed with the other nations. At least that's what the one Westerns tell us, right? Let's continue.
The children's deaths.
Oh, I thought there was more. Okay. Well, then in that case, let me leave this up because I may actually need it again. And this is just like, where's Kyan, man? I had Kyan in here. Let me close this real quick. Let me see. Thought I had him in here. Give me a second. Let me see. Let me see. Thought I had him in here. Oh, well. Well, I mean, we heard it. You know what I mean? But everybody's making a big deal about him. Everybody's making a big deal about this guy. So let me remind some of y'all a little bit more about what we've been through. What's going on with us. And I just find it very awkward, man, that like, you know, 100 million plus of the so-called natives and indigenous people of these lands, right, who were taken on slave ships. You know, we were taken on slave ships. Indian slavery at colonial times, slavery, slave ships. Slave ships proving we've been on slave ships. Slave ships. Slave ships. Slave ships. Slave ships. Slave ships. What else? Slave ships? Conquistadors? Without interpreter? Taking our land? We never knew the language. Look, Deuteronomy. They even wrote about it. The land of one people is invaded by people from another country. Dude, the guy was just literally mentioning prophecy, and he didn't even realize he was doing that. That's why I wrote these down. From a nation from afar. Government imposed upon them. Lamentations 5:2. We're aliens. Strangers took our lands. What happened to you? I mean, again, that happened to us. I'm just saying. Let's see what else. Attack ran throughout. We're still going through this. Historians as agents of social control. Still going through it. Slavery. Still going through it. 500 years of not having the Bible. Any mention of it? Has anybody mentioned that? Has anybody ever wondered why they're not mentioning our struggle? Black Lives Matter? I'm trying to look for a pager because, excuse me, I think I may need to get some water. Where are you at? Bear with me, brothers and sisters. Again, if you guys have Facebook, you can find me on Facebook, and I'm always posting everything I find. I don't hold anything back. There's no need for it. This is the Most High. If He provided it for me, then it's because I provided it for my familia. We got books, 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 and books of letting us know that they always assumed that we were the Hebrews. Do you see this here? That's a black man, a king of Europe. What else? That king, his father passed this law. Partis sequetur ventrum. Okay, watch this. Believed to be James Francis Stewart. Now, this is the IUIC, ISUPK, I believe, Sakari, GMS, all of them really propagandize the Russian icons. Those are Hebrew Israelites. Okay, this guy's a Hebrew Israelite. That's what they're saying, okay? So this Hebrew Israelite, or black Hebrew Israelite, because of the similarities in armor, blah, blah, blah. So they're saying because the whitewashing, right? Was the son of deposed King II of England. such as James III claims the English, Scottish, and Irish throne, which was in the 1700s, right? 1701. So that means his dad ruled before him, okay? And if his dad ruled before him, then his dad was the one that passed this law. And in that law, and I've stole this video to you guys, but you know what, man? We got to see it again. Because you don't hear this a lot, and it's from their own mouth, not mine.
Black men in history like Frederick Douglass and Booker T.
And on top of that, unlike what we were told, like, oh, every black person with a white person, yeah, no matter what, you're a slave. That is not true. And we're going to continue further researching if the curses really do apply. Because remember, guys, it has to be all across the board. You can't be selective. You can't say, oh, well, you know, it's the southern kingdom that went through this curse and then the northern kingdom that went through the other curse. So that's why, you know, no. All Israel went through all the curses. All of them did. That should. So let's find out if they went through this.
To rise into prominence was a melanin deficient parent, in most cases, a father. This outcome was mostly a result of Virginia colonial slave statute Partus sequitur ventrum. That which is brought forth follows the womb, meaning the legal status of a child born of an enslaved Indian woman will always remain enslaved. This law gave planters and free white men in general carte blanche authority to impregnate captured women without having to so much as even claim responsibility for their mixed race children. Just as common, these children were sold on the mulatto maid market as house niggas for an added sticker price as compared to their.
You guys hear that? I have a picture. Watch. Let's see. Let me see if I have it. What is it called? It's a picture you could see. There's a so-called white woman and a so-called black woman, right? And she's like light skinned, and you have a servant, and she's really dark, but you know she's not drawn like as a so-called African. It's more like our sister. You see, they had this plan since the get-go, guys. These enemies, these black and white Europeans of them, because that's what y'all are, okay? They had an agenda. They have power behind, which is witchcraft. Oh, trust and believe. That's why they've ever been able to. When the Most High allowed it, that's why the scriptures say, man, you pushed it too far.
Darker skinned counterparts. In this aspect, Virginia colonial law was totally contradictory to English common law, which states that a child's status follows the father. Of course, this law extending from the earlier Virginia codes was designed this way to assure legalized rape of indigenous women without consequence, and naturally the perpetuation of slavery through a duplicitous modification of English common law. Children born of a white mother and black father were considered free.
Watch this here. This is from Africa's Gift to America. It's showing Africans. The slaves for life were white convicts shipped from Europe. Really? Oh my God. I didn't know that. Okay, let's continue. Let's see here. Which page am I looking for? It says here, I think this is the first page. Here it goes. Popular history starts that the Negro in the United States in 1619. In 1919, there was a third century observance of it at Jamestown. But this date is based on a letter from John Rolfe. Sir Edwin Sandy is 107 years too late. Negroes first came with the Spaniards, who were the real founders of the United States. Ooh. Black people came with the white man. You see that? Negroes first came with the Spaniards, who were the real founders of the United States. The first of them was Ponce de Leon, who landed in Florida, Easter Sunday, 1512. There seemed to be no record of the number of persons in his expedition or their ethnic origin. But Salvador Brau does mention one Negro, Pedro Mexia, he says was a mulatto and one of the companions of Ponce de Leon. However, it is safe to assume that there were other Negroes in that expedition, as there was abundant evidence of their being with later Spanish explorers as the Aviles, Hernando de Soto Narvaez, which we have shown. He was an actual, the first, he was a colonialist, a black colonialist. De Ayllon, Coronado, Tristan de Luna. See, all these names are starting to make sense now. Other important facts: Spaniards of the time were much mixed with Negroes and had been from before Moorish invasion of 711 AD. Simon Bolivar reminded Spanish Americans of this time that they were too pure European to begin with. Spain itself, he said, had ceased to be European by its African blood, its institutions of character. Whew. Really? But I thought y'all were, look, an 1828 Webster's Dictionary Bible. Webster's Dictionary, 1828. It says swarthy, being of dark hue or dusky complexion, tawny. This is in 1828. In warm climates, the complexion of man is universally swarthy or black. The Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than the French, Germans, and English. Woo. So the Moors are not the same as Spaniards or Italians. So then these Spaniards and Italians don't consider themselves necessarily Moors, but they're black. Matter of fact, they're more black than the French and Germans and English. How come this isn't mentioned? Look, you telling me that if you have a black man and a white woman, or a white woman and a black man, however you want to do it, or vice versa, you don't think that these people might have came to our continent and we would have been like, oh, light skin, curly hair, blue eyes? Yeah, hello. You see, the truth is coming out. And the fact is, you guys don't want to face it. Now, you want to write somebody else's heritage. Because here's the reason why you did the chart in the first place. The only way you can actually make the other scriptures apply to you is because you need the chart. Without including the chart, you don't have anything. Think about it. You can go with verse 68, fine. But then what happens to, well, let's read it. Matter of fact, let's go to it, man. Why am I hesitating for? Let's go. Deuteronomy chapter 31, chapter 28. Let's start tackling these things, man. Let's see if we went through the curses. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, okay? It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Not selective. Okay? Watch it. What are some of them? Let's go to verse 27. The Lord shall smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, and whereof thou cannot be healed. Now we know that we went through what? What was that? What kind of sickness, what plague did we have? Does anybody know? Right? If you guys know, put it up there. Let me continue, because I know we went through plagues. Right? I'm trying to make y'all think. Verse 33. The fruit of thy land, and all thy laborers, a nation which thou knowest not, eat up. You're right, they did that to us. They took our land. And we labor for them. They eat up all our labor. We hardly make any money. We get the lowest pay, no matter what. We do the work that no one wants to do, including the so-called black man. I thought we're the same people. We should have the same characteristics, right? The same spiritual understanding, the same spiritual connection. But no, we're being converted and being told that we're a degenerate gene. Oh, but don't worry about it. In a twinkle of an eye, the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. Now, we never knew English, ever. Ever. Mexicana, I mentioned that. Smallpox, all praises, east side. There you go. There you go. My bad, bro. I'm much glad, because I was actually forgetting, man. That was really, I'm trying to get some help too. Good point. Greek and Italian conquered the supposed known world, so those languages were known throughout 3 known worlds, whereas not known in America, for sure. And here's why. You got a good point. Here's why. As you know, with languages, man, they develop dialects, right? So these Anglo-Saxons, because that's really where their original language was, right? They were battling each other. So then, as you can see, as more migrations happened, the dialect started changing. So later on, like in the 900 AD, 1100 AD, you started really understanding now the difference between English. And then you started seeing other languages. And then you started seeing like actual Spanish, because in Spain and Portugal, Portuguese, Spanish, and Latin and French are very, in English, not English, but they're very similar. Portuguese, I can understand people in Portuguese. I can even understand people in Italian. So it's like Latin, Portuguese, and Spanish is very similar, right? But we did not know none of those languages, because based on scripture, we came over here in 538 BC. 538 BC. Based on scripture. Right? Let's continue. What other ones? Verse 35. It says, and the Lord shall smite thee in the knees and the legs with the sore bots that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. That happened to us. That happened to us. Smallpox, right? Watch this. Smallpox on the Aztec and Maya. Look. See, we have records of it. From the head to toe. From head to toe. I'm going to read it over here. And I'm going to put some pictures. Okay? Because I think it's time to we start again. We have to slice this. We have to slice this cat a little bit up, because it's getting out of hand now. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors. No, wait, hold up. The verse 35. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees. Ooh. And in the legs, with a sore bots that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot to the top of the head. Oof. Is this not happening to us? Did it not happen to us? Yes, it did. All right, what else? Verse 36. Let's go to verse 36. Oh, well, verse 35, verse 36. Let's see. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, which we did have several. Aztecs, Mayas, and Incas had them. Unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. We never knew the Anglo man. Ever. Again, thy king. We had a king. Did they? I'm curious to know who was their king. The king of Africa? But Africa doesn't belong to Israel. You gotta really start questioning this, because I find it very ironic that all of a sudden, man, it's like, oh yeah, we're Jews, Jews, black people, Jews. But look, in Europe, back in the day, they used to make these after the black folks left. Why would they make them that way? Unless the leaders of that area or era were like this guy, the same guy that passed Partus Aquatum Ventrum in order to rape our sisters. Look, you see these lottery lands? Cherokee lottery land. You know how they have them? Through the Head Right program. The number square shows the dots that are gold districts, and number square without the dots are land districts. This book shows only those the drew lots in the districts. The 10 counties show are those created in 1832. Yep, immediately after the land lottery. The broken lines show the boundaries of the 10 counties. So, for example, if you have a family member, an indentured servant, well, guess what? Through the Head Right program, you get access to land lottery. So you so-called black man, you so-called white man, as you're coming this way, guess who you're taking land from? And you say we're the same people? we never enslaved the white man, nor did we ever enslave the black man. Look at you guys. Free Negro owners of slaves. United States, 1830. And that's the people that were like hiding. Because you guys didn't even have the audacity to admit that you were doing it. Oh, but you blame the the white man all the time. Look, another book from 1619 to 1865, The Free Negro in Virginia. It shows that you guys were as competitive in owning slaves as the white man. All of these people, you see all that list right there? That's them on the left, and we're just a bunch of numbers. Those are black people that own slaves. And guess who those slaves were? Our gente. Yeah. Look. By the end of the century, some 200 men, women, and children from the British Isles would have been transplanted to the British Americas. These are black folks. I've done classes that shows who were in the British Isles. Here's your Russian icons. The impact of more. And I'm going to read a book that shows you. What else? Let's see. Let's continue. Oh, verse 39. It says, thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for worms shall eat them. Okay, so explain to me when that happened to you guys. What vineyard? When did you dress them? When were you drinking them? How were you gathering them if supposedly you left Europe and then went to Africa? You didn't have time to grow all of these things. Because in 1492, all of a sudden, 100 years later, they get enslaved. How the hell does Kunta Kinte enslave you in the first place? If you guys are the superior, knowledgeable people who were already studying trigonometry. Look, these are questions that are legitimate. Why would they then not be legitimate questions? I mean, quite frankly, verse 40, thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive for the olive shall cast his fruits. If you were in the land of a stranger, I don't think this would happen. Verse 43, speaking of which, the stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. When were you high and when were you low? I thought you were low when you came here. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. That means that prior to, we would be the leaders, and yet they would not. And then we would now be under their submission. You guys came from Africa. Let's continue. What else do we got? They shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, upon thy seed forever. Where is your land that is being absorbed of resources? And don't say Africa, because if that means that you're Africans, then you're not Israelites. And then here goes another one, okay? Where are you at? Verse 64. Verse 65? Yeah, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. Okay, fine. From one end of the earth and even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou, God, man, what's going on? Spit it out. Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. If you guys ruled Europe, you knew the white man because you had him in submission. And your fathers knew them because you were ruling Europe since 711 AD. And you were pushing Christianity as well. How do I know? Wait, look. That's how I know. Look at the crosses. Look. Don't they say, "Oh, look at the black man. He's black. He's black." Okay, that's fine. You want to say it? Okay, cool. What about the cross? I thought you said the white people brought this to you guys. I know they brought it to us. I know that for a fact. But you guys are pushing this already before they conquered y'all. Look, cross after cross. Look, they're gonna say like, look, you see the woolly hair, bro? You see the woolly hair? Look at the woolly hair. Okay, cool. What about the crosses? Let's not forget this. You guys know about subliminal messages, right? Subliminal messages means they make comments directly, but indirectly, or indirectly, but directly. They're trying to give you guys a hint, guys. You so-called Hispanics and Native Indians that are in these rooms, and you're being bamboozled. Man, I pray to God He wakes you up in time, because this is the seal right here. The assumption that this is Christ. Because remember, the first picture was this guy, and then obviously it became too much propaganda, so then he stitched it. But listen what he says.
That the blacks who were colonized and enslaved are indeed the 12 tribes of Israel, according to the biblical text. There's no biblical text that can prove the Jews in the Bible were Caucasians or are Caucasians. There's no biblical text that says or proves Jesus Christ is a Caucasian or white man.
And I want to reaffirm, we're not saying that. We're not saying that at all. We don't believe that the Messiah was a white man. We know that. What we are, what, and you know, let's be honest here at this point, man. Let's be real about this talk. He didn't say the blacks and Hispanics are the 12 tribes of Israel. Regardless of where you are, if that's what you stand for, that should be what you'll be preaching. But you didn't say that, Nate the Snake. You said the blacks, blackity, black, everybody. Oh, yes, that's what you said. Never did you include the so-called Hispanics. Why? It don't matter if you're so-called in Africa or talking to some people from Africa. If you're trying to bring the tribes together, then you wouldn't say stuff like that. You have an agenda, damn demon. Damn demon. But no, go ahead, you so-called purple-loving dummies. Keep going to their dumb camps. Go ahead. Let's go. How can I say this? What we want is the truth. If the Messiah did look that way, then so be it. So be it. But what I'm saying is, you're teaching something that does not correlate, like the brother said, with the curses. Because I'm reminding you guys, okay? The argument isn't whether the Messiah had woolly hair or not, whether he was dark skinned or not, because we say polished brass. Yeah, that's a tan. That's a pretty decent tan. That's like me. Like my son has that golden tan. So I understand that. And when he tans, he gets darker. Okay, yeah. A lot of us go through that. We don't have a problem with it. It's you use the doctrine, you use the curses, and now we're like, wait a minute, hold up. Now we're starting to wake up. We're starting to, like, our spirit is like, wait. Slow your roll, bro. Hold on. How in the hell do you say that? You gave it away when you said you ruled Europe. That was your mistake. If you not had said that, nobody would have paid attention. But then now you make people like me, well, wait a second. Those guys are ruling. And never in one scripture does it say that we would be ruling individually after we go into slavery. Because they're saying, guys, that the tribe of Judah was the one that was ruling in Europe. Look, it says here right here. Let me read that real quick, brother. Hold up. Let me see. It says, it made sense your past videos. The white man used the black African as his foot soldier, physical in reinforcement during early voyages. Bro, they do that still. If you really realize, for every sport, for everything, they go to the black man. That's the white man. It's funny because the way that the Most High works these things, right? So remember, in Judges 3:5, how come they never tell us or explain this? I've asked so many times about this. So who are these guys? Because the scriptures say past, present, future, okay? So we're going to be repetitively going through things. And it says, Judges 3:1, it says, now these are the nations which the Lord left. Let me repeat that. Which the Lord left. Left. To prove Israel by them. Even as many as of Israel had not known all the wars of Canaan. So at that time, it was physical war, right? We didn't know any better, man. The Most High didn't choose us because we were the tallest, biggest, strongest. Yo, listen, I think in Deuteronomy 4, watch, it goes Deuteronomy 4:38. If I'm not mistaken, okay, it just came to my mind. All praise to the Most High if it's correct. Deuteronomy 4:38. To drive out nations, that's right. To drive out nations before thee greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. So we were not a mighty nation of people. Whoever said that? That's Israel. Why would the Most High go out of his way to help people that are superior and mightier? They don't need any help. They have their own physicality, which is already conquering other nations. But you know what? When you start teaching Black Hebrew Israelism and you realize that it's such a carnal doctrine, then you go, wait a minute. Deuteronomy 28 is not making sense unless you have verse 68. Then it just hit me. Boom. I go, oh, okay. Well, let me explore this. Let me read this. It says, the afro, they say the woolly hair. Let's see, one, woolly characteristic. Look it up. The never is afro hair. The afro is so-called. It's simply the halo around the head of all the pagan Egyptian gods. Oh, man, I got to look into that. And here's another thing, sis, because they forget. You know who also has woolly hair? Samoans have woolly hair. Like, I grew up with Samoans. They have woolly hair. Like, I'm talking about thick. Look, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, right? I do watch sports. And Tua, he's got woolly hair. So what are you saying? Is the Most High and the Messiah Samoan too, potentially? You see where you can go off? And if we really want to be technical, they got some Awasi sheep over there that is not like the actual sheep. It's long but thick. You want to be technical? And see, that's the point. We're not arguing about whether it does or it doesn't, because you can swing Revelations 1:14 and 15 to your liking. That's not the point. The Bible said that it has to apply to you. The scriptures have to be black and white pieces on the chessboard. That's right. The black and white pieces on the chessboard. Oh, no, I know what you mean, right? Yeah, that's them. That's hey, man, you know what? That is exactly them. I have a class on my notes, which I was going to bring that out. All praises, bro. You reminded me of that class. Oh, man, all praises. I forgot about it. But in reality, when it comes to the scriptures, it's just black and white. It's very simple. You either go through the curses or you don't. You either show the spiritual aspect of who you are or you don't. And so far, listen, man, I've tried it. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, the spirit does not bear witness. So if I'm not a Hebrew because I don't bear witness to their spirit, then, hey, man, I don't know what to tell you. All I know is the scriptures tell me otherwise. The scriptures have told me otherwise now. Because you know what? I did that rigorousness. I went through the look. So now check this out. So let's now confirm. He said that these guys, look.
All the biblical texts prove that Christ is black. Moses was black. The Apostle Paul was black. And the 12 tribes of Israel are black. And the 12 tribes of Israel are black. And the 12 tribes of Israel are black.
Oh, I don't hear no Hispanics in there, bro. I don't hear no so-called Hispanics. I don't even think he even thought of you dumb Hispanics in here, bro. But you're all up in his room in those classes, giving them money, mandatory. Without a doubt, if you got a purple shirt, you are demanded to give money, give alms. They don't tell you how much, but you better give something. Because that's exactly what they did to me. 4 years into, man, giving alms, you know what I'm saying? A lot of a sudden, now I'm demanded to get alms. You'd be surprised what these wicked ass people do. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't take anything negative out of the fact of my experience, because the Most High, like he taught me, even the ravens, even they sometimes feed you. These bastards are ravens, and funny that they're black as well. Let's go. A wicked, sarcastic manner that I had to pay attention to that. It wasn't like with a very humble aspect, like, yeah, in the 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, even if you're in Africa. No, you said in the 12 tribes of Israel are black. Fopi, this is a perfect video for you to push. By all means, please do. And you know what's so funny? Y'all fought so hard that we are not the same people that you made us actually dig in and say, let's find out if we're not. And guess what? It was your guys' reason why we found out that we're not the same people. So in a sense, thank you, Fopi. We really want to thank you. because of your ignorance and hate towards our gente, you really let us determine who the real Israelites are. Watch this. This is from the Geographical History of Africa. I've showed this book many times, but I got to say it again, and I got to show it again because you know what? Not one school has ever hit my page and said, "You're wrong. Here's a video. You're teaching the wrong thing." Not one. Daniel says he is beryl colored. That's copper colored, not black. That's right. It's copper colored. Copper color is like, well, we've seen it, like reddish, which is why, you know, when you look at Adam 2:7, Adam is Adamah, right? The ground is called Adamah in I guess Hebrew or Yiddish or whatever you want to translate it to. And it means red earth. Well, hold on a second. You got to remember too, bringing a point. And I don't know why I didn't notice this. Copper is not the same as brass. Keep that in mind. Copper is not the same as brass. Copper is more reddish, more like burgundy-ish, that brown. Well, you guys know copper. Just Google copper and brass. Brass is very shiny, yellowish. Copper is not. Okay? Keep that in mind. Let's go. I've done a class on that. Are people mimicking white rich man's American dream and hoods promote black street gangsters and rap? Yeah, man. No joke. Prosperity doctrine or let me kill him, F the woman. And you know, I remember when I was going to these classes, my wife, man, she's got a very good spirit, man. She's very humble. We're very different. She's very quiet. She only speaks when she really needs to say something. Really, man. We get along, and not because I talk a lot, because we just have a similar spirit. And she would always say, why are they doing these classes on all these women? God, man, are they that evil? I'm like, look, listen, it doesn't apply to you, so just ignore it. But it's like every week, get it together. Women this, women that, women this, women that. And I'm like, yo, man, what? I don't have that problem at home. And their assumption was that I did. And I'm like, no. Oh, your daughter's probably trying to like hoe her out. Like, no, man. No, like, no. Who you think I am? It's because it's not the assumption. It's the spirit within them. Latinos, Hispanics, and Native, we're different. And we all have that connection within ourselves. We may be in the island. We may be in South America, Central, Mexico, in the north. But there is just something about our spirit that connects fast. The humility is the most important thing about our gente, man. The most important thing about our gente is the humility. Because you can go, look, when I was like about maybe 4 or 5, right? I was, and I said it before, I was born in Guadalajara. And we had some neighbors across the street, and the mom stayed home, and the dad worked in the railroad tracks, and they were very poor. But I kid you not, man. Every time I would come over, they used to call me Chicharo, right? Every time I'd come over, they're like, "Hey, Chicharo, come inside." All they had was beans and like just bread, bro. That's all they had. That's all they had. You know what I'm saying? And in reality, they were so willing to open their hearts. It didn't care to them that they didn't have enough. And you know what? Our gente's like that. Dude, we'll take our shirts off for a friend. You know what? Hey, can you please stop? Hey, you know what? That's actually true. Man, I wish I had that video because I actually have their so-called King David, that dumbass African old ass man that doesn't even know how to talk well. He's over here saying, "Hey, F the black woman, F the black woman. They're all gonna die. 90% of y'all suck. 90% of y'all ain't shit. So what? We still got the Mexican woman. We still got the Puerto Rican woman. We still got the Cuban woman." That's what they said. That's exactly what they said. They hate the so-called black woman, but they love the so-called Hispanic woman. And then it makes you wonder, so are they the same women? I mean, I thought we were the same people, but you said 90% of the black women are going to die, but we still have the Hispanic women. I don't understand that shit. So are we the same people? It sounds to me like they know that we're not. Let's continue. And that's a spiritual thing. And the scriptures say, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that is what I'm trying to show y'all, that you guys are the Bible itself. We represent every single spiritual aspect. Look, the food we eat, the only insects that are allowed to eat in the Bible, or I think one of the few, is for sure locusts or grasshoppers. We have that in Americas. Fringes, we have it. Ceviches in the Bible. Tacos is in the Bible. We honor your parents. The other nations, they kind of just move on, man. You know that the so-called white man, we know what they do. You know what they do. But yet we have the spiritual aspect of it. Now let's see this. Let's read. Now let's read this. Here it goes. Moreover, this part of the whole world is inhabited especially by 5 principal nations, to wit, by the people called Kafri or Kafetas. This is to say outlaws or lawless, by the Abyssinians, Egyptians, the Arabians, and the Africans or Moors. Here we go. Remember, they said that the Moors are their gente. Okay, fine, they are. And the Africans or Moors, properly so called, which last are of 2 kinds, namely white or tawny Moors. So you see what I'm saying? The so-called Sephardic Jews. Yeah, you're right, brother. In other words, Yakasha, they hate us because they ain't us. Hey, man, straight up. Because you want to know something? How can you go? This is when you know the spirit is gone. How can you go from like years of teaching the same thing and all of a sudden, whoop, all because of some kid? It wasn't even an adult. One voice, one kid, one thought, and that's all it took. He's gone. Now, even if he regrets it, he can't come back. What are we going to say? Nah, bro, what do you mean? No offense, brother. And you know what, man? I care for him because he showed me about the lunar because I was a little bit off and I had reached out and asked him about it and he was helpful. So it pains me to see that particular thing. So let's continue. Proper so-called, which are left. There are 2 kinds, Negroes or blackamoors. Okay, watch. Of all which nations, some are Gentiles, which worship idols. Others are of the sect of the Mohammeds, meaning they were Islam. Some others Christians, and some Jewish in religion. The Sephardic Jews. The greatest part of which people are thought to be descendants of Ham, the cursed sons of Noah, except some Arabians of the lineage of Shem. All right, that's one. All right, let's go to this other one. It goes, let's see. Howbeit, this is page 6. Okay, it says, howbeit, the enemy, no, it's right here. All which opinions and reports are to be understood only of the original of the Tani people, that is to say, of the Numidians and barbarians. For all the Negroes, here it goes. For all, hold on. For all the Negroes and blackamoors take their descendant from Cush, the son of Cam, who was the son of Noah. But whatsoever difference between the Negro and the Tani Moor, whether he's white or dark-skinned, certain it is that they all have one beginning. For the Negroes are descendants of the Philistines, and the Philistines of the Mizraims and the son of Cush. But the Tani Moor fetched their pedigree from the Sabians, and it is evident that Saba was begotten of Ramah, which was the eldest son of Cush. Then it says, hey, will be revealed, AWBR. This is the book that you're talking about, right? Those 4 pages I think you mentioned regarding the history of Africa, right? I think so. Anyways, let's continue, man. I'm gonna make sure to touch on that. All right, let's go. There's diverse opinions there be as touching this matter, which because they seem not so necessary, we have purposely omitted. This was actual Leo Africanus, a black man born in Granada. You telling me this guy knows more than him?
That the blacks who were colonized and enslaved are indeed the 12 tribes of Israel.
You telling me he knows more than Leo Africanus? Let's see.
According to the biblical text, there's no biblical text that can prove the Jews in the Bible were Caucasians or are Caucasians. There's no biblical text that says or proves Jesus Christ is a Caucasian or white man. All the biblical texts prove that Christ is black, Moses was black, the Apostle Paul was black, and the 12 tribes of Israel are black.
Meaning African looking, okay? So you're saying that the Negroes are the Israelites. But this guy says, who is an African who was in Granada when you guys were ruling Europe, he says all the Negroes and blackamoors come from Ham. You want some more? Let's give him some more. Let's see. Let's see. Which one am I looking for? Is this it? Cam. Oh, here goes. He identifies himself not as a Hebrew. Look. And this man is over there at that time. At that time. Wouldn't they say this at that time? That they know who they are? Yes, they would. But see, these guys, they either don't know who they are and they're trying to steal our heritage, or they know who they are. Hey, for real, bro. Listen, man. Tell them to come over. Tell them to come over. Fopi, you listening? Tell them to come over. Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'll go over to the channel. See if I can go over there, man. Find out. I don't know if you guys know these people. Make it a neutral forum. You know what I mean? They're gonna bring their shit. I'll bring mine. Then we'll show exactly who they are. Because I have a lot of questions for them. A lot of questions. And the problem is that they're not going to be able to answer it. But if they have a question for me, guess what? I have answers. Because it's not of me. It's of our Father. Bring them on, man. Let's go. And they're playing checkers playing the chess game, which basically means that they got support. Somebody's very behind this movement, which is a movement. It says the Egyptians, as Moses, page 298. The Egyptians, as Moses writeth, fetch their original from Mizraim, the son of Cush, the son of Ham or Cam, the son of Noah. And the Hebrews call both the country and the inhabitants Egypt by the name Mizraim. Same book. Watch this real quick. Hold on, let me see. Maybe I still have the page up. I'm gonna show you. Hey, you know, and that's a matter of fact, I'll just kind of mention it now, bro. Because if they are or were the beasts of the field, because I guess it could make sense. But then what about the flood? What happened then? You know what I'm saying? Noah, after that, I don't know how they got around that. So I'm just saying, bro, like, you know what I mean? If you know something that I don't know, man, by all means share it. But I think about that. Yeah, they probably were. Maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, Jubilees clearly tells us that there is a tribe that's going to be spiritually seditious against the system, against the way things are. They're just going to be basically completely flesh lustful to the point that you're going to notice them. The beast of the field got in the flesh of the ships of Noah. No, I don't know about that, bro. Let me just kind of continue. We'll talk about that another time. F them, man. They can't admit their Masonic roots. That only destroys the BHI or black-only doctrine. Freemasons and PHM gave them the false information, and this awakening happened because of them. That's very true. Because if you think about, if you go back to so-called the creation of this country, it wasn't just one particular nation of people. It was a couple of people. And we see through history and books that it wasn't just, let's say, a couple of so-called black people and white people trying to like make their life possible here. No, they came with a mission. They knew who we were. They had history on us, which I find very ironic that they have history on every single other nation, Asians, Arabs, Europeans, Africans, right? All of that stuff. Now, they know historically from their books, Aristotle, Diodorus Siculus, all of those guys had written that the Carthaginians had seen the island. So they knew of us. All of a sudden, they come here. Next thing you know, we don't have no history of you. Man, make that shit make sense. Let's see. What am I looking for? Let me see. You can see. Look. This is from let the blood stay pure. If you think about that, man, it's like they showed up and they destroyed every artifact that we had, everything to do with us. They destroyed it. But I thought they were historians. They keep records of every single other nation. Why destroy our history? Why? Why cut us off? Why take away the scriptures? Why only show us 5 things? El Credo, Ave Maria, Padre Nuestro, Diez Mandamientos, and the stupid Rosario. Why make up an imagery that never happened? Why create this so-called fake religion to keep us in line? Why give us these holidays? And then say to us, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know you guys were here. We thought you guys were from India. But in reality, they read the scriptures. They had Ezra's. What are you telling me, bro? Are we guys dumb? They had Ezra's. You guys are forgetting? Why are we blind with the stuff that listen, this is the most powerful marketing tool that anybody can give you, okay? Because I understand marketing. They put it right in front of you where you at least see it, but you subconsciously always have a look at it. That's how they work. They put it in your face so then you ignore it. Let's continue. This book here, okay? Again, if you guys have Facebook, look for me. I share everything I got. Watch what it says on page 67. They say we're the same people. Let's find out. The year 1619 has been earmarked as the earliest date of arrival for Negroes to the English colony, yet they accompanied Spanish North American expeditions almost a century before. Let me read it again. Yet they accompanied, that doesn't mean like slavery, does it? No. Meaning they took partnership. Spanish North American expeditions almost a century before the English arrived in Virginia. There is also evidence that they cohabited with the Aborigines in the earlier 17th century. In 1603, 7 Negroes escaped from St. Augustine, in some maintaining their freedom and marrying Indian women. The Franciscans found Negroes, remember, the Negroes appear, and Indians cohabiting together in Florida, and repeatedly admonished the Aborigines that it was unclean to keep Negro mistresses. Really? But these were the men. You see the trickery in the words? Yeah. They were told not to mix with us. Here's another one. In this book here, I'm not going to read it, but this man right here, James Beckworth, he was a black man that acted like our people. And he went around killing a bunch of our gente, our native brothers and sisters. Watch. In what book is this called? I forget what book it's called. Let me see. Oh, Black Indians. He goes right here. When Beckford, it says in 1866, Beckford died of food poisoning while traveling to or from Crow Village. This simple fact has given rise to a legend. He was invited back to the Crow people by those who hoped he would consent to lead them again. When Beckford refused, the legend continued. He was given a feast and poisoned. Why? Because this guy actually had 500 Indians killed because one of his, I guess, captains told him, and if not, he was going to kill him. So he's like, all right, fine. And he actually played the role like he was friends, tell him to line up, we're all good, and let the white man shoot him. This is part of miscegenation. You guys got to look up that word, miscegenation, M-I-S-C-I, nation, okay? Meaning that these people were mixing with themselves for a long time. So yes, some of them could have looked like us, some of them could have looked like them, and specifically in this part right here. Especially now, these stupid ass wobbles want to say, "Oh, we were the original people." Because look at the pictures. Well, because you mixed with the white man, they raped your ass. I mean, oh, you did that to them. Maybe, I don't know, man. You guys do that in jail. That's why they called you mayates. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys are like raping people and shit. I don't know. That's kind of a thought. Anyhow, regarding your topic, don't care. That's actually regarding the animals, bro. And I know what you mean, because I think Jose Vega and those guys, they believe that. But I mean, I don't know, man. Then that just goes against Noah, Shem, Japheth, or Japhet, and Ham. If that's what you're saying, then I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? That's who populated the earth, based on what the scriptures say. So anyhow, bro, let's continue. Yep, that was a black man. I think this is it. Oh yeah, look, watch this. The chief not only agreed, but here it goes right here. His Indian, oh, this is bad. Watch this. His Indian wives invariably were loyal. And this is what bothers me about some of our gente, man. Y'all just us are silly doves sometimes, man. Daughters of chiefs who would do Beckworth some good. No woman ever held him for very long. And one Blackfoot chief daughter was almost killed by Beckworth on their wedding night. When she refused to obey his command not to dance, he clobbered her with the side of an axe. Turning to her father, he explained that this discipline had to be maintained. Hey, that's true. It's a very good book. You guys can order it on A Books. There is a printing company that will reprint the book for you. I have it reprinted. I also have it on PDF. Look, I'm going to share this with y'all, okay? Just so you guys know. And this is not any kind of boasting, but I think it's only. I think it's. I'll give you an example here. Let me show you this real quick. All right, hold on. Let me do this real quick. Hold on a second, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. So look, guys, you see these books? This is 622 PDF books. Okay. Now these are books that I've been dealing with for the last 6 years. Okay. I'm gonna go all the way down. So it's not like I'm just a novice at this game, you know, like I actually do take time and I read this material. Now, have I read them 3-4 times? No, I haven't read them over again. You know what I mean? I read them and some I haven't read. I'll be honest with you. But a lot of these books have a lot of history in them. I'm blessed, all thankful to the Father that he's, allowed me to learn not learn, but to be able to read in Spanish and in English, which has opened my mind a little bit more, not being so limited to certain, information, which is what happens to a lot of people that say that they're the people of the book and they know this and that. And y'all motherfuckers don't know shit. Excuse my language, but you don't. Because when you start actually reading history outside of America, then you find out how stupid you are. And this goes for GMS. This goes for ISUPK, for your taser face, whatever, captain, whatever. This goes for Sakari, IUIC. You guys only give literature based on what you want it to be. Why don't you give literature like this? Literatura Maya, White Cargo, History of the Jews, Natives of Early Virginia. These are actual historical books. Matter of fact, this book here, the Kabbalion, talks exactly about your Freemason doctrine. All these maps, the wrecks of the earth. Why don't you bring this information up? That's who I used to be from. I took my time. You guys think that I'm just some dumbass. No, I've done the time. I put the time in. This book right here, this is the book that clearly shows who you guys are. So sometimes I even wonder about you guys. You guys in part want to accept history when it sounds good to you. Like, oh yeah, we ruled Europe. Yeah. That sounds good. That makes you feel good. But then when you're like, wait a minute, hold on a second. If that's what you did, then that means you subjugated the white man. So then the white man wasn't new to you. Oh, no. We were also, those were Hamites. Hamites enslaved us. You can't have it both ways. This right here, this book right here, The New World Jewry, you can barely find that book in hardly any places. Y'all need to pick these things up. And you think you can come on this channel and try to tell me, oh, well, how do you know who you are? And what do you think? Bro, I didn't just pick up one book and assume my shit. My shit ain't dirty water. I've taken the time. Have you guys? I'm talking about my gente. I'm talking about you so-called enemies. Have you guys? And I don't just go by the basic books that we all hear, the Star of the West, which are great books. But I go further. Because you know why? There was a time where none of this mattered to me, man. I was too busy being a drunk. I was too busy getting laid. When you get a book like this one right here, this one's a great book right here, family. Right here, this one right here. How come it doesn't open? Okay, anyway, hold on. This right here. The name is called Gutiérrez Timón, Historia del Nombre y de la Función de México. You guys need to get this book because it actually explains to you. As a matter of fact, that's the whole concept of this channel's name, Meshiaka. That's exactly where I got it from. I'm so glad I actually brought this out. So before you go off and assume that, that we're a novice, individualites, that we don't know what we're talking about. Look, man, we're fully prepared, family. You bring me some bait, I'll chop it up in pieces, and I'll use their actual information. Because they're nothing special, fam. There's nothing new under the sun, man. This is just a bunch of spirits acting as if they know the scriptures, like the Bible said, like the scripture said. Even Satan will act as the angel of light. Oh, let me read that real quick. No, the hermanos didn't believe that. They said that the Zondervan who did the Bible dictionary believed that because BHIU is Ham, son of Noah. Yeah, not the Negro. Yep. But the Zondervan believed, that's called a hypothesis, that blacks were the beast of the field. And something like that. Yeah, it's true. That's where the doctrine comes from. I'm glad you bring that up. That's where the whole Hamitic hypothesis. But that's besides the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll tell you this right now. No, don't care. And I understand, man. We all have interest in particular things. But I'll tell you what. The most important thing is, bro, that we all are looking to repent because none of us deserve it. You know what I'm saying? And you as leadership, you should know better than to assume that you have the chance to step on somebody's feet or think you have it already. Nah, bro. In this moment, we study. We pray for the Most High to give mercy to our gente. And we just, man, I don't want to say cross our fingers, but it's like, bro, you better hope you get a chance. Because we could sit here and say, yeah, we Israelites. Yeah. But what if you're the 2/3? So it don't even matter if you're an Israelite. You're going to die like a heathen. So does it matter? Nah, bro. We better repent. Let's go.
Watch this. The chief not only agreed, but gave him a new daughter. That night, Beckwith and the second wife of the day was spending their presents. I see. Wonder what. And then taking his leave. Watch this here. In 1830, he served the U.S. Army Scout Seminoles, a war against black Seminole allies. Enemies were enemies. He dressed and looked and acted like a Native American, but he wasn't.
And by the way, and the only reason I'm saying thank you, by all AWBR, the brother's right. Hit the links, hit the likes, share, family, and post comments after the video is done because the algorithm does pick that stuff up and it will share that information to more people. So trust and believe. It has nothing to do with any incentives or any side of mine. Okay, if I ever do anything like that, it's for a real purpose, man. It's because we're really trying to help our gente. But right now, it's just to share these videos. Our people got to know, and we have to destroy that root that's been planted in our mind to assume that we were just a bunch of savages and we didn't know shit. You understand what I'm saying? We need to plant our root once again. Our root is to repent and understand who we are according to the Bible, man. Remember, that's the number one thing, family. That's the first thing. Who are you? Who are you according to the Bible? Are you Shemitic? Are you Hamitic? Or are you Japhetic? It's time that you ask yourself that question. Because guess what? Now they're talking about it. So you can't ignore it no more. Now the Most High is talking to everybody now and saying, hey, listen, I'm talking about Semitic. Now you better start wondering. So there's no excuse anymore.
At all. And you just go through my page and it's like slavery owners of our people left and right. And y'all are saying that, look, this isn't 100 years ago. Look at how these dress. 1700s. Look at all these black men out here talking. Look at this guy with his glasses. Are they suffering? What curses are y'all talking about? Oh, that's right. Only after the Civil War. I wonder why. The white man got tired of you guys outvoting them. That's exactly what happened. Look. Sigma Pi Phi fraternity. In 1890 something. We had no fraternity. whatsoever. Here's the secret. These guys knew this land, the Jew and Negro. Did the Negroes know of America? Dionysius Siculus tells, here, let me magnify it. And I'm almost done.
And this is my point. So we know of Asian history, 5,000 years of Chinese dynasty. They make cartoons like Mulan and all that, right? African history, you know, the what's that called? The Lion King. Greek history, Roman history, Arab history. They knew about this island, or so-called island and land. But yet when they get here, they don't want to record history. No, they want to destroy it. Things that make you go,
Diculus tell us that the Phoenicians in earlier times sailed beyond Hercules' pillars up along the African coast, and there, meeting with storms and tempests, were carried to the remotest parts of the ocean. And after many days came to a vast island and a great distance in Libya and lying very far west. The Phoenicians informed the Carthaginians of this place. The Carthaginians prohibited other nations from settling in it, they reserving it for themselves as a place of retirement if they should ever be driven from their native soil. Does that sound remotely ironic? In this book online, hermano, we love to have it. Yeah, it is. Which one? So why IRC accepting so-called Latinos and Native Americans should promote all Negro doctrine? Yeah, exactly. And you know why? They do it because the only way, you should start talking about the Huguenot brothers. Yeah, I actually have some, I dug into it, but those guys, there's a lot of material and you.
Hey, I did a class on that, family. Okay, check it out. Is it Huguenots or nut huggers? I think that's what it's called. You know me.
You would have to use a lot of different books in order to identify them because they're very secretive. That's what I keep finding. But I will get to that point. Right now, it's more of like just teaching our people, you know what I mean? Like what's important right now. And which book are you talking about, sis? Is this book line? You mean like the Jew and Negro? If you can answer. No. It's called the book The Jew and Negro. It's funny because like it's their own book, and they use these books to promote that the so-called black man is a Hebrew Israelite, but then they expose themselves even at the same time. Hi, man, it's just I find it so interesting because the more you explore, the more you find that they didn't suffer much.
And were counted among free people of color. White men were freely allowed to abandon.
Oh, yeah. You can get it online and archive.org, or you can get it here. Watch. This is where I ordered it. Okay. You may be able to order it, guys. All right. So I went here. You go to a books. This is a good place to order books, right? So I have like an account with them. So this is it. It's coming on. It's on its way. So I have it like on PDF, but I wanted the book, and these guys actually print it. They print it for you. Okay, so again, it was $30. I don't know how much it will cost now. I'm assuming it's still the same. It'll take about maybe 20 days to get it. But look, I love to have things in my hand, so in case I don't have access to internet, I can show my family, right? And I'm talking about y'all. Let's see. I will watch the replay. Yeah, for sure. So always make sure that you write down what I show, because everything I show is for you guys. It's for you guys, okay? It's not for me. I already have it. It's for you guys. So these are the places: archive.org, abebooks.com, Amazon, PDF ways. There's ways.
That's a great website, family. You should always consider using it. And by the way, that's the actual books, like PDF books. You know what I mean? The ones I showed you. That's not even counting the ones I actually have in my like me in storage and everything. Not storage, but in my shelf. Let's continue. We're almost done. Let's go. Good day today, family. I think your rest day is over, so it was a very hopefully you guys had a very good restful day, the 7th day restful day. I hope you guys really had a good time, man, that you guys took the time to study scriptures, not just these videos. You know what I'm saying? Like you actually took the time, like the brother said. I'm gonna read Psalms. Yeah, listen, this is what I will suggest to y'all. Try to, if you okay, so for those that can't read 4 chapters a day or 3 because you fall asleep when you're reading 1 chapter, it's because your mind is not used to reading. You see, sometimes, well, at least at first, when I used to read, I'm reading, and then all of a sudden, I'm thinking of a bunch of different things. So I'm still reading, but I'm not really reading. So the reading comprehension is not there. It's because your brain is not accustomed to putting these words together just yet. It's like anything else. It's like exercising. It's like a sport. So when you start reading, I would suggest you start one chapter a day. And if you can't, I mean, shit, if you can't do 1 chapter, but don't read Psalms like those long chapters either. You know what I mean? Like do a chapter with like maybe like 20 verses, 1 chapter a day. Train your mind to stay active, and then you slowly move on to more chapters. That's what you got to develop. You got to develop, exercise that mental muscle. You can't just jump in and assume that you can actually do it right off the bat. It takes time, fam. It takes time. Let's go.
To research, like for example, if you want to look for, I don't know, something like this, right? And then at the end put PDF or put free. And then you'll see if they actually have it. See, like for example, like this, see, an archive.org came up with that. So they'll take you back to archive.org if they have it in PDF. You see what I'm saying? Listen, guys, for whatever reason, the Most High blessed me with research, like research ability, and I can find whatever y'all need, man. I'm telling you. All praise to the Most High. That's what matters. But anyhow, that's a good option to go, okay? So just keep that in mind. Let me continue, and then we're almost done. All right, let's see. Look, here's another one. I read that already. This right here. This is that book called Jews and Muslims of British Colonial America. Okay. So this is why I always stress, don't jump onto some bandwagon unless you really know that history. You see, the Phoenicians were converts. Okay. All those so-called Israelites up there were converts. They're actual Phoenician Canaanites. They're Canaanites. Okay. So these Jews and Muslims, they are like it says, Leo Africanus said it. They were Christians, they were Muslims, they were Jewish, but at the end of the day, they were all what? They were all Canaanites. At the end of the day, they were all Canaanites. And if you look through this book, you'll find yourself where it's consistently talking about slavery.
And if you read Ezekiel 30, you'll now start to understand why it says what it says. And it's a lament over Egypt. I'll just read it to you. Word of the Lord came to me, son of man, prophesy and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Wail and say, alas for that day. This is the NIV version, okay? For the day is near, the day of the Lord is near, a day of clouds, a time of doom for the nations. A sword will come against Egypt, and anguish will come upon Cush. When the slain fall in Egypt, her wealth will be carried away, and her foundations torn down. Cush, Libya, Lydia, and all Arabia, and Cub, and the people of the covenant land will fall by the sword along with Egypt. That is when 1492 happened. This is what the Lord says. All the allies of Egypt will fall, and her proud strength will fall. From Migdol to Aswan, they will fall by the sword within her, declares sovereign the Lord. They will be desolate among the desolate lands, and the cities will lie amongst the ruined cities. We know that Spain fell, and it was desolate for several years. Several years. Matter of fact, Spain has never been the same. Then will they know that I am the Lord when I set fire to Egypt, bondage, and all her helpers are crushed. Who? Egyptians, Cushites, all of you so-called Moors. On that day, messengers will go out from me in ships to frighten Cush. Oh, you see this? In ships to frighten Cush out of her complacency. Anguish will take hold of them on the days of Egypt's doom, for it is sure to come with ships. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will put an end to the hordes of Egypt by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Here we start seeing an actual parable at the same time. And if you go back For example, one chapter, we also understand that the Most High said this. Ezekiel 29, in the 10th year, in the 10th month, on the 12th day, the word of the Lord came to me, son of man, set your face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him and against all Egypt. And speak to him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. What does he say? He's going to make sure that he destroys all Egypt. Verse 6, then all who live in Egypt will know that I am the Lord. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? I'm going to show you right now. There's a word here. Give me a second. Verse 12, I will make the land of Egypt desolate among the devastated lands, and her cities will lie desolate 40 years among the ruins, and I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries. Scatter you. How come you guys don't explain that? So now you have white and black conquistadors, and now it says that even the Egyptians will be scattered like the so-called Israelites. So then that's why the Most High puts these things in our book to identify us and show that, hey, we're going to be dealing with these Canaanites and these Philistines because they're going to try to be like you. They're going to try to act like you. They're going to try to be you. Like they initially did it in Jubilees. They weren't supposed to be in our land. From the get-go, this nation of people has been trying to be you from the beginning. That's why they were never supposed to be in our land. They were supposed to be in West Africa. Jubilees clearly tells us this is a seditious and rebellious nation of people. Let's continue.
Right? Look. He was one of the 20 Jews who were court musicians. A descendant, Mark Antony, was sent to school in Italy to his father, but ran away. Was captured by Algerian pirates and sold into slavery, supposedly, right? The captain of British ships took pity on him, carried him to America, and resold him to pay for his passage in 1698. A farmer of Kentucky brought him for 3 years. The young man ended up establishing a trading post. Marion Isabel Hart of a leading Jewish trader family. Jewish traders of what? Of our people. Jewish mercantile company of our people. Crypto Jews, not our people. You see what I'm saying? You guys call yourselves crypto Jews, bro. Like, I don't know why you don't understand. You haven't dissected this history. And you want to call yourselves a Sephardic Jew? You're basically saying you're not our gente, fool. Excuse my language. Look, the canary served, like it's, I mean, you look through this book all through it, and all you find is that the Jews had everything to do with the slavery. The Jewish ones. In the meantime, Jews and other created ownership, blah, blah, blah. There has to be no slavery, supposedly. Watch this. I'm going to show you all the picture. Hold up. What's this? Look at that. Jews and Muslims. You think these guys maybe would be mixed? Black and white? Look at this guy. I've seen a lot of people around that look like him. Blue eyes. That is actually a trait of the Phoenicians from Europe. So you so-called black man or a black woman that has that features, you need to really check your DNA if you're calling yourself an Israelite. A lot of people in the like Creoles, they are them. A lot of them. But you see, y'all don't even want to know that, or you don't care to know that. I mean, I already showed the Negro slaves. I already showed everything, the natives being sold. Watch this. I got one more, and that's it. Pilgrim Steers controversy 30 years on, right? Apparently that they made a play and they had black people in it. And they started controversy, but no, not really, man. What they were doing is they were actually, look, That it says, was there black pilgrims breaking bread with the Puritans in 1620? That question caused a huge controversy in 1880 when the Plymouth Plantation in Plymouth, Massachusetts hired a black actor to portray a pilgrim. You know why? Because it was true. Most of them were black. They were mixed. That's why when you see movies, you see all like the so-called, like the movies are like the videos I always show, right? And you have people that have like supposedly like straight hair, or I mean wavy hair, but it's stiff. Why? Because that's the way that they do their style. It's stiff, right? You guys never noticed that? It doesn't move. It's stiff. They're giving us a hint. Look, I'll show you a little bit and that's it.
Or kill their children without recourse, solidifying their position as the first deadbeat privileged children of whites, which populace they claim to represent. At the root of their influence were wealthy white from the people.
Look at how they live, even in that time. Black folks are Masons. Usually you say it's a white man, but this is since the beginning. You see, all of this comes from the Canaanites.
All right, hold on. Let me see this real quick. What'd you say? It's definitely Israelites, and we're not saying there isn't. I'm not saying there isn't any Israelites in Africa, man. Obviously, we're scattered all over the place. Lies, yes. I guess the white man lies. Yes, natives are Israelites, so it's a lot of tribes in Africa. We're scattered everywhere, but that's not the point. That's not the point. This is not exactly why I'm even sharing this. You see, the doctrine of this so-called Black American, okay, is that the 12 tribe chart is based off the Hispanics and blacks. But you see, it's not that easy. They also say though that us so-called Hispanics, that we mix with the other nation, and because of that we look this way. However, they also claim that even though they look like the Hamitic nation, they're not Hamitic, yet they look like them. So then makes they'll say, okay, so then what the hell is the people look like the original so-called Israelites look like? Then are you saying they look Africanish, like Hamitic? So then that means that you believe that the Most High is a Hamitic God as well, which varies. To me, I have to question you. Now, when we come back to historical facts, when you say that a nation from afar, from the end of the earth, as quick as the eagle flieth, will come and take you in slavery, then that doesn't apply to the so-called black man, because guess what? You guys knew these people. You knew their language. You dealt with them. And that's not a nation from afar, not from no end of the earth, and not so some language that you weren't aware of, because you've been dealing with them since the Roman times. You guys even say it yourselves. So, again, all I'm saying is we're scattered everywhere, but we did not come through the so-called nutsacks of an African. That's another thing that BHI teaches. They go to 1 Corinthians 15, 52 to 54, Philippians 3, 4, 21, and then Revelation 1, 14 and 15. Why? Because they say that we mix with the white man. That's why we look this way. That's a fallacy of a doctrine, because scriptures clearly say this is not of the flesh. And if you talk about some, I mean, we're talking about like, man, the kingdom of the Most High, bro. There's no way that this flesh even makes it to that point. So I don't know why y'all put so much effort on that shit. So we're not teaching that there's absolutely no Israelites in Africa. No, we got brothers there too. What we're trying to show y'all is that doctrine of BHI is of the devil. They're saying that you so-called blacks didn't mix and we did. That's what the hell, man. That makes no sense. Let's go.
This comes from,
and then on top of the fact that now we know that it wasn't just white people that were here to enslave and conquer. It was Negros that came here and enslaved us as well. So now you have to question you. If Lorenzo, you are a so-called African American, so-called, then now you have to wonder, well, your people enslaved natives here. Now, what do you ask yourself? Because Deuteronomy 28 is the basis of BHI doctrine. So if black people enslaved as well as white people enslaved, who didn't enslave people? We didn't enslave people. But you see, we're insignificant in the BHI doctrine. It's all blackity, black, black. And those are facts.
The Canaanites. That right there. Okay? In case y'all don't know that.
Most Aristocums share this common problem. Their social detachment from the general populace they claimed to
Hey, sis, yeah, it says, watch this, I'll show you. I think Zechariah 14:21. Zechariah 14:21 says, yea, every part in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seat it therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. So that means that they're in it right now. Means they're in our book. Meaning they're trying to get in there, right? The Most High is going to expose them, and they're little by little exposing them. Hey, this isn't hate talk, guys. It's just facts. You said that we're the same people. Okay, well, let's compare it. Thanks to Fopi, made us wake up. Like, actually, you know what? We're not. Thank you, Fopi. Appreciate y'all. Not trying to be funny, but I guess I am. Because I know for a fact that I'm a Hebrew. I don't know about you guys. I know for a fact that our gente are the indigenous ones. Because guess what? We're not boastful. And nobody's even paying attention to us. Nobody. Psalms 83 all over again. They just cut them off from being a nation that the name of Israel never will be in remembrance. You see, the thing about America is, man, anything they promote, for a fact, you know there's something fishy about it. It should never be that easy. It should never be that easy. Because there's no way that they would be able to do, like, that's not the white man. The white man always likes to hold things back, and the things that don't matter, here you go, guys. Feed it. Feed them. Feed them. Feed them. We got distraction. We got going on. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's do it. Let's do it. Why? To keep us asleep. Because a lot of us look at it like, man, damn, then they're really Israel. We're not Israel then. No, man. Stop saying that to yourselves. You guys are. I mean, look, I have enough evidence to show that there's nothing that they show that they are Israel. Not in Africa, not here, not in the curses. I mean, if you take away verse 68, you don't have anything. So the only way to work it is you do a 12-type chart and say, yeah, we're the same people. Because then you can say, yeah, they took your land. You see that? They took our land. That's why you have IUIC saying, well, give us our land back. Which one? Africa? Israel? Or you talk about America? Because they're saying your land. The only way you say that is if you create a 12-type chart. I got one more page and that's it. Let's see. Where you at? Where you at? Where are you? Where are you? Holocaust. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Here it goes. Here it goes, guys. Holocaust. You see? We had a great nation once. A nation of people that never knew who the so-called white man or the black man were. At least not the French, the Dutch, the Spaniards, the Portuguese, the Germans, the Russians, none of them. Y'all need to be proud of who you are, brothers and sisters. This is from the Holocaust, page 4 and 5. When we saw so many cities and villages built in water and other great towns built on dry land and the straight and level causeway going towards Tenochtitlan, we were amazed and said that it was like the enchantment they tell of in the legend of Amadis. On the account of the great tower and the temple and building rising from water and all but a masonry, and some of the older soldiers even asked whether the things they saw were not a dream. About 60,000 pale stucco houses filled islands, metropolis. Some of them are single-story structures, some of them multi-story. All of them, these houses, wrote Cortez, have very large and very good rooms. Also very pleasant gardens of various sorts of flowers, both upper and lower flowers. That's our gente right there, man. I got a lot of trees, a lot of fruit trees. I may not have a lot of space, but hey, man, I got fruit trees. My wife has a lot of plants. Our gente is like that. Oh, watch this. The many streets and boulevards. Remember this scripture? The boulevards, right? Which one is it?
Hey, you know why it's being debunked? Because back in the day, at that time, it was actually called Hierosalima, Hierosalium, or something like that. So how can it be Ouida if they're calling it Hierosalima or Hierosalium? Oh, don't be stupid, man. We ain't dumb no more. Let's go.
Give me a second. Captivity, thou shalt very low and deal. I'm looking for the scriptures that talk about and your lands will be desolate. Let me see. Let me find it real quick. Give me a second. Leviticus. No. I wonder why I can't find it. Anyways, well, it talks about that, right? Lands will be less desolate. Your lands or your road or your path or something will be desolate. So we had boulevards, we had pavements. Look, 1,000 workers cleaning this place up. So I'm going to show y'all something. They knew who we were. They saw this place in the past. I've showed this page to you guys before. This is that guy, Diodorus Siculus. Topostext.org. And you look for 519.
Hey, family, I just want to inform you. I know it sounds silly. This is pretty like trivial shit. You know what I mean? But apparently somebody was offended with today's class and they unsubscribed. They totally unsubscribed. So again, you just never know, fam. People don't like the truth. You want your ears to tickle. You want to be told things that sound really nice and friendly to you. But nah, man, we ain't here for that shit, man. You either tell the truth, the whole truth, the nothing but the truth, or you die. Let's continue. But hey, at least we know.
Oh, pass it. Watch what his says, okay? Watch this, guys. Hope you pay attention. Write this stuff down. This is the proof. They knew who we were. Watch. But now that we have discussed what relates to the islands which lie in the Pillars of Hercules, we shall give account of those which are in the ocean. For there lies out in the deep of Libya an island considerable size, and situated as in the oceans distant from Libya, a voyage of numbered days to the west. Its land is fruitful, much of it being mountains, and not little being a level plains of surpassing beauty. Through it flows navigable rivers. Watch this. I'm going to show y'all something. Why did I close it? Oh, that's dumb. It talks about navigable rivers, right? Watch this. The many streets of all of our cities were so neat and well swept, despite its multitude of inhabitants. The first Europeans to visit never tired of remarking the city's cleanness and order. Okay? Now watch this real quick. Tenochtitlan, in this respect, reminded Spain of the enormous Venice, but it also had remarkable floating gardens and reminded them nowhere else on earth. While the European cities then, for centuries thereof, took their drinking water came from springs deep within the mainland and was piped into the city by huge aqueduct systems that amazed Cortez and his men. Watch what it says here. Right here. It was a land fruitful, much of it being mountains, and not a little being a level plain of surpassing beauty, though through it flowed navigable rivers, which are used for irrigation. The island contains many parks planted with trees of every variety. and gardens in great multitudes, which are traversed by streams of sweet water, aqueducts. On it also are private villas of costly construction, and throughout the gardens, banqueting houses have been constructed in settlings of flowers, and in them the inhabitants pass their time during the summer season, since the land surpluses in abundance everything which contributes to the enjoyment and luxury. Luxury. The mountainous parts of the island is covered with dense thickets. It says, in inviting men to life among the mountains, it has cozy glens and springs, great numbers. In other words, this island is well supplied of spring of sweet water, which not only makes the use of it enjoyable for those who pass their life there, you Hebrew, you natives, you Indians, you Aztecs, you so-called Aztecs, you so-called Mayas, you so-called Incas, you Native Americans, you so-called Hispanics, Latinos, the islanders, they're talking about us. They knew what was here. This is not a coincidence. The so-called black man is not our people. Now, are there some of them? Yeah, because they mix with the other nations, but that's something they're going to have to dig. Because see, as a Latino or Hispanic, we already deal with that. It's okay. Now, we've gone through the rigorousness. Now, you guys got to do it. Then it says, there's also excellent hunting of every manner of beast, wild animal, the inhabitants well being supplied. I mean, you could just read it and you could just see, man, they knew this place. Climate, location, shores. The Phoenicians knew, look, the instituting magnificent sacrifices were conducted after the manner. Oh, look, watch. Watch this real quick. In the city they built, well, okay, maybe this isn't it. This is somewhere else now. Let's see. No, this is it. Hold on. They instituted significant sacrifices which were conducted after the manner of Phoenicians, and it has to come to pass. And I think it was you, Mexican, that had mentioned about how they were saying the Toltecs, right? That they're a gente. But here it shows that the Canaanites did actually come here, man. They knew this place, right? And that's where the whole sacrificial aspect came when we started bugging out. Yep. We started bugging out. Let's see. What's it say? This is really shocking information. Contradicts everything I've been taught. Yep. I'm honestly trying to learn this side since I've only heard the native enslaved Negroes and Hispanics being second. Nah, man. Not at all, bro. Listen, they had what's called indentured servitude. So what happens is they would come from Europe. Like, let's say you and I are related, right? Well, we technically are. If you're a Hebrew, if you're indigenous. So let's say we're related. And you go, hey, Emmanuel, listen, man, I'm in America, bro, and I can get you over here. So there's a program called Headright. So what happens is you're an indentured servant. They give me the land. You're like a down payment, right? Because you're going to work the land. And that's how they became. That's exactly what. How do you think they ended up having so much land? Obviously. How did you gain so much land? You have rich, wealthy, so-called black people with a lot of land. And this is the thing, guys. If you really look into it, they own banks. They own this. I mean, they're not on the bottom. They make it seem like it, but they're represented in the government. They got football players, basketball players, soccer players. They play sports in every way. Basketball, baseball. Like, where are you on the bottom? But we get promoted all of a sudden. Oh, black people dying left and right. But the Hispanics, when do you hear about them getting shot? Well, what I mean is, in regards to like us being here of the Americas. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gracias, Father, man, for helping us through. Because you know what? When they took this book from us, it destroyed us. In the book I've read with you guys before, it talks about like they just gave us all kinds of nonsense. Ave Maria, Padre Nuestro, Diez Mandamientos, El Credo, and El Rosario. That's all we were taught. But they had the Bible the entire time. And that slave Bible wasn't for them. It was for our people. Anyhow, you guys can look through this. It's a great source of information. It shows that they knew who we were. It shows that, listen, we'll look at it one more time and then that's it. That's it. I'm going to show you this one more time. All right. So now let's compare it to what they're saying. So they ruled Europe. They ruled Europe, right? Okay. But see, that doesn't make sense. If they ruled Europe, then you can't apply the scriptures. You can't go to Deuteronomy 28:49. Because it says, what does Deuteronomy 28:49 say? It says, here, I'll put it over here. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against you from far. That's not far. I have a book that shows that that's only 2 hours, a 2-hour boat ride. Matter of fact, you can get your little like canoe type of boat and you can make it. Quite frankly, they're the first wetbags, if you really put it that way, because we're just a skip and a hop. They had to pass a whole ocean. Both of them are all wetbags. All of them. Not us. They are. So you see, 2 hours. A nation from afar? From the end of the earth? What? What end of the earth? There's no end of the earth here. And then it says a language that neither you nor your fathers have known. You knew English, you knew French, you knew Dutch, you knew Russian, you knew what else? Norwegian. You knew all of those. You knew Russian too. You knew like Spanish, Portuguese. You knew them all. Does make it make sense, guys? This isn't hate. We just want facts. We've been told wrong. We've been taught wrong by the so-called white man. And the last thing I want to do is go back and, hey, listen, it's like the song that I like playing. The song I like, hold on, let me take off the other one. The song I like playing, it says, look at what the devil has done. Now it's got me asking some stranger for advice.
Check this out, Pedro. This brother posted this on a video I had done a year and a half ago. And my wife was kind of watching it with me, and we were looking at it. And he posted this at the very end, about maybe a minute and a half before the video ended. He says, Mexica equals God's chosen, Inca equals God's priest, Maya equals God's creation, Taino equals of the noble Lord. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. You know what I mean? I think that's beautiful, man. Let's continue. Desolate land you were looking for, Ezekiel 20. Let me get it. I think so. Let's see. Ezekiel 12:20. Ezekiel 12:20, because I was in Ezekiel today earlier, was reading it. Ezekiel 12:20. It says, and the cities that are inhabited shall be laid waste, and the land shall be desolate, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Yeah, the cities. So what cities were laid waste in Africa? There's no city. Ezekiel 33:28. It says, for I will lay the land most desolate, and the pomp of her strength shall cease, and the mountains of Israel shall be desolate, and none shall perish. You know the mountains of Israel, you know what the mountains mean? That means the power. The power of Israel shall be desolate. And that's what happened to us. Ezekiel 36:24. 34. It says, and the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that pass by. Shall be. I think this is more in the future. Thus say the Lord God, in the day that I shall have cleansed you. Yeah, it's a prophetic part here. All praises. Let's end it with that, and let's see what else. You didn't hear a lick from U.S. national media in regards to text? Nah, man, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, what was it? I did a class. Oh, that's okay. So here's it goes, guys. Let me show you a little bit. So when I first opened this channel, which is in May, I did a lot of videos, right? And then apparently, like the algorithm just shut me down. So I took down the videos. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save them. I bought an external hard drive, and all of a sudden my external hard drive completely died on me. It shredded all my data. Now I'm being charged like almost thousands of dollars to get my data from $100 box that I had bought. That's not a coincidence. As soon as I started bringing these classes, that happened. Bam, it exploded. I've had my computer for quite some time, guys. You got to find that very, very interesting. Yeah, this is in the future. All praises. So anyhow, but other than that, I appreciate you, family, man. You guys have stuck around. And remember, I'm going to say this again. And for all you brothers and sisters that are struggling, listen, I do these classes to stay sober. I ain't lying, man. I really am. I need y'all. Lord willing, y'all do the same. Lord willing, we start seeing each other as family. Because for quite some time, we've been living like the fallow ground, all broken, separate, but we're all from the same root. That's why I played that video the other day. That one bean creates a big root, and guess what? All those roots connect. We're connected, guys. That movie Avatar is really about us. Use your spiritual eyes. Watch it again. All right? I got something for you, though, man. I think you're going to like this song.
And I was waiting. I was saving for it for this time. And let me see if I can find it, because I don't think I've played it for y'all. I don't think I have. Let's see. And again, these guys are, they're young men, and I'm sure that they do some stuff, man. I can't stop it, but you know what I'm saying? I really appreciate the message that they bring, because it just says that, hey, man, a lot of people are spiritually empty, and they're trying to discern themselves as who they are. That's all we're all trying to do, man, honestly.
Doing well, as you can see. I'm just here with the fam. You brothers and sisters, man, you guys have a great night. Do everything possible to stay in the spirit, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, man, let's continue the battle, you know what I mean? Let's just continue the battle. This is an ever-ending fight, and sometimes it's just like that, you know what I mean? Let me I need to cover this video because it'll block me. Let me see how I can do this. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Oh, I know how. Okay, fam. All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Lord willing, I'll see you guys again on Monday. I don't believe I'll be doing a class tomorrow. Excuse the name on this one. It's when I used to use Bible Chronicles, but we're now Mashiach Chronicles. All right. Y'all have a good night, man. Enjoy the music. Here, man. Sincerely, and I hope it was edifying.
The time fly, Messiah got in a way. At least the sunshine, and that's all we have. The time fly, Messiah got in a way. At least the sunshine, and that's all we have. Solo quiero mirar al cielo una mañana de sol, sentir el aire, respirar, ver que se calma el dolor. A veces me cuesta sentir, otras soy pura pasión. Busco escapar de las cadenas que me atan el corazón. Nada veré, no me caeré, que yo ya sé tenerme en pie. Aún perderé más de una vez, aunque me duele. El tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo con mi gente lo pude parar, aunque me duela. El tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo mirándote lo supe parar. The time fly, Messiah got in a way. At least the sun shine, and that's all we have. The time fly, Messiah getting away. At least the sun shine, and that's all we have. En este mundo nada es lo que parece. Y a mí ya me sorprendió tantas veces que no me fijo en lo malo, me centro en crecer, en fluir por el agua como los peces. Sonriéndole al tiburón, transmitiéndole el sentimiento que otorga la unión. Ya no más sufrimiento entra en mi corazón, estoy en modo descarga y solo queda ya amor. Aunque me duela, el tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo con mi gente lo pude parar, aunque me duela. El tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo mirándote lo supe parar. Me vado con el humo que flota en la habitación. Quiero sentirme por encima de cualquier situación. Perdí de tantas maneras distintas que nadie sabe que tanto dolor no cabe dentro de un mismo corazón. Nada veré, no me caeré, que yo ya sé quiera. Solo con mi gente lo pude parar, aunque me duela. El tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo mirándote lo supe parar.
The time fly, Messiah catching away. At least this time shine, and that's all we get. The time fly, Messiah catching away. At least the sun shine, and that's all we get.
Siente la gran vibración, actúa con perfección. La alineación, en contra, no te tuerzas de la misión. Somos uno y uno todos, así que no te odio, que si no te va a volver multiplicado por dos. Un fractal de Dios también se puede perder en el mal, pero ahí se encuentra tu elección. Decidiré lo que pensar, yo pienso todo positivo y todo me va genial. Por eso es que sigo vivo y cada vez más.
The time fly, Messiah catching away. At least the sun shine, and that's all we get. The time fly, Messiah catching away. At least the sun shine, and that's all we get.
Aunque me duela, el tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo con mi gente lo pude parar, aunque me duela. El tiempo vuela y no lo puedo atrapar, aunque lo quiera. Solo mirándote lo supe parar.